Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about what if Naruto x Blake Belladonna rwby. Before I start, please support for more amazing content and do consider subscribing to my channel and share this video with your friends. This is written by BLAZERAPTOR54 and link in description and support writer. Let's start the video. Chapter 1. Out of the well into the sea. The frog in the well knows nothing of the sea. Famous proverb. Could you really do it, Sasuke, could you kill me calmly? Two children, no older than 12, danced around each other in the middle of a lake. Walking on water, they weaved and dodged each other's punches as the blonde in orange clothing was finally kicked back. He slid across the water, tumbling onto his side, somehow staying afloat just as a ravenet boy came forward with lightning crackling in his hand. The blonde's azure blue eyes widened as the older boy's hand sunk into his left lung. Blood sprayed behind him as his enemy's hand went all the way through. Blood came from his mouth as he slowly began to hang limply from hand, lifted up as black marks came around the other boy's body. This boy, Sasuke, smirked in triumph before a clawed hand from the blonde grabbed his wrist. His Sharingan emblazoned eyes swirled as he saw red energy come around the younger boy. Growling, the blonde's eyes turned from the azure color of an ocean to the deepest pools of crimson. Sasuke didn't get a chance to react before a mighty left hook smashed right into his face and sent him flying backward. The open wound on the chest of younger boy slowly began to swirl and close, healing rapidly under the influence of the red energy. In Sasuke's vision before he righted himself and came to a stop. He saw it slowly take shape in the form of a nine-tailed fox creature whose gaze fell upon him hungrily. If you ever truly were my friend, Naruto, you'd die for me. Sasuke easily kept pace with the blonde, Naruto, and batted him back. Kicks, punches, and even a headbutt made the blonde trudge backwards across the ground. They were upright, but horizontal on the side of a cliff as both fought their way upwards. Cresting the hill first via a kick, Naruto coughed up a wad of blood before Sasuke leapt and grabbed his forelegs. Front flipping just once, he sent the blonde hurtling into the stone, making him carve a few feet of it out from the force of the impact. Fire style. Fireball jutsu. Naruto's eyes widened as he brought his forearms up to block the mighty ball of flame that erupted out of his enemy's mouth. His forearms ended up badly burnt as the raven-haired youth landed in front of Naruto and kicked him across the ground. On top of the first Hokage's statue, both boys glared at one another. The blonde's wounds began to heal, and without much thinking, he charged forward. Can you at least tell me why? Why is it that you want all of this power? Why is it that you would throw away all of the shared memories? Both young boys had gone under drastic changes. With Naruto having red energy bubbling around him into a fox-like cloak. His appearance more feral as he clashed forearms against his rival. Sasuke had changed as well, gone were the black markings, his skin now a grayish dull color. A black mark across his nose and dragon-like wings on his back. His hair was duller and longer, no longer holding the blackened sheen of a ravenet but a dull violet. Both blasted each other back with powerful blows that sent both careening into opposite sides of River Gorge in the valley. Naruto was the last one up as Sasuke began to weave hand seals. The blonde held out his right hand as a vermilion-colored sphere began to slowly form. Screeching filled the air and finally both launched toward each other. Both screaming each other's name. Naruto Sasuke. The answer is simple, Naruto. I need power, the power of the Mangekyou Sharingan. I need to kill my best friend for that power, my one true link of happiness. Their attacks clashed as a violent sphere of black erupted around them. Both envisioned themselves as their younger selves. Their warmest memories, the time the two talked at the pier. Something shifted inside of Sasuke, was it hesitation, was it guilt? Could he really do this, could he go the same route as his brother, Itachi, and kill the one link he had left in this world? The sphere around grew larger, swallowing the valley, destroying the two stages before white lines began to careen through it. Forming a sort of rippling crack. It was as if time and space itself was breaking from the weight of their shared attacks. Darkness meeting light, the immovable object meeting the unstoppable force. Eventually, a rift opened up in the center of them, with Naruto falling forward toward it. His arm reached out, finding Sasuke's hand clutched around it with both hands. The Uchiha looked right into the Uzumaki's blue eyes. Sasuke. Shut up, loser, and hang on. He screamed back at the blonde as he continued flapping the dragon-like wings, but found himself getting dragged down. Naruto realized that something shifted in Sasuke, with the blonde looking at the encroaching rift. He felt his heart begin to rapidly beat before it finally began to slow down. Taking a deep breath, the blonde realized one thing. If Sasuke held onto him, they would both be dragged into God's nowhere. Taking a moment to close his eyes and say a small but quick prayer for luck, the one thing that has always been on his side, he reopened his eyes. Sasuke Sharingan looked down at Naruto as he called his name, noting the smile on his face. You were always my brother to me, thank you for the happiest memories of my life. The Uchiha didn't get to ponder what Naruto meant before the blonde suddenly formed a small Rasengan and slammed it into his abdomen. It blasted Sasuke back, right out of the sphere of blackened energy as it began to collapse. Naruto closed his eyes as the red chakra faded from him, taking a deep breath before smiling. Feeling the rift behind him drag him into it. He didn't hear Sasuke screaming out to him, trying to renter the black sphere, it didn't matter in the end. Deep down, Naruto knew for a fact, he had won. If Sasuke's calling out to him against the void was any indication. These bonds, I'll never let you break them. You can break me, beat me up, but I'll still drag you back to Konoha, Sasuke. No matter what, I'll never give up on you, because you're my friend. My brother. His last feelings were that of his body entering the rift. The dark silence flooding over him and the light shrinking away as he stared upward as the white light collapsed into it. He could feel the nine tails doing everything it can to start healing his body, but perhaps out self-pity Naruto took to just restraining the chakra from entering his system. The thoughts were fleeting, but he prayed and hoped that Sasuke did the right thing. That him and Sakura could be happy and that Iruka could be proud of him. Jiraiya, his current master, probably would never stop looking for him. That was fine, in this void, the only thing with light left was what Naruto's eyes shed in the form sprinkling teardrops. Glinting the last visages of light from the opening of the rift before it finally closed completely. The cold was immediate, his wounds paining him no longer. Was this to be his end? If so, it didn't seem so bad to float in an endless sea forever at peace. Across an endless sea, upon distant shores 8:54 a.m. And she dreamt of an endless sea, for which distant shores laid beyond the horizon. Blake Belladonna woke to bustling of several people just outside of her room. The violet pillow cover was layered with her sweat as she awoke to the blistering summer heat. Her fan was going on high, like usual to combat the massive heat wave that currently plagued her home city of Kuokuana. The only city upon which sat the seat of government for Menagerie. Menagerie, in all of her glory, was posted with thumbtacks on her wall across from the bed. The small continent laid directly south from Anima. Blake yawned, stretching before getting up, her cat ears fully standing up before she grabbed her black bow. Quickly tying it into her hair, she got a brush and began to get the tangles out of her hair. Knock, knock, knock. 3 knocks rang from her door, with a woman's voice coming from it. Blake, sweetie, are you up? I just woke up, Mom, I'm getting ready. Is Dad still giving the speech today? She answered her mother whilst also asking her question, knowing full well the answer. Why, of course, dear, please make sure you are wearing the clothing we got the other day. That Adam boy will be there, the one you like. The teasing was evident in her mother's sing-song voice, making Blake growl whilst blushing. Chop chop dear, I'll have breakfast ready in 30 minutes. Blake got up from her rather nice queen-sized bed. The black sheets were made straight as she did so, making sure that a bed was made. On the corner of a nightstand laid what had kept her all night. A book entitled, A Man with Two Souls. It was a rather engaging read and it filled her dreams up all last night. Walking over to the map of Menagerie, her country and land, Blake placed a hand over Kuokuana. There was other settlements to the west, the only true habitable part of the continent. From what their scouts recently reported from the View Bullhead transports that the White Fang had, there was land to the east, but Grim held a firm hold upon it all. It was the life of Menagerie's people to endure. From the brutal heat in the summers, bitter cold in the winters, and the typhoons that came during the summer months. It was shocking to her that this was the second straight month in which storms never came. It sounded as if it was a blessing, but Blake knew all too well that her father's speech was meant to put the farmers inside of Kuokuana at east. The rain was a needed event and freshwater cuts would likely to be made to preserve the year's crop. Lest her father have to kowtow to the kingdoms that laid north. Vale wasn't so bad, in fact, they were often generous with their help. They weren't the issue, but Vacua was often stingy and Mistral plus Atlas were often demanding numerous concessions for the aid. That is why Menagerie gathered the unpleasant nickname as the Bastard Kingdom, for it was indeed a kingdom. Even most of Remnant found its origins dubious and claims more so. Vale's baby, which is something that always kept them on good relations with the eastern country on Sanus. If hadn't been the last king of Vale, Arthur Pendragon, then Menagerie would still be a slave colony for Mistralians and Atlasians to continue exploit. She knew all of her country's history, she had too. She was the daughter of its ruling high leader and there was a chance that one day she'd sit upon the primal throne of her people. She was balking at the responsibility but knew that it was something she was being reared up for. Quickly, she walked over to her dresser drawer. She got out the clothing her mother reminded her about. It wasn't much, but it was modest. It was a short coat that was violet with the emblem of her design on it. A prototype, but it was a black emblem that resembled a rising flame or flower if you squinted hard enough. She honestly hadn't decided which yet, but perhaps one day she'd figure it out. The short coat would only come down to her midriff, which is why she was going to wear a black shirt underneath. Her amber eyes gazed at the various different black shirts, finding the one she wanted. She quickly tossed it onto the bed and sighed before looking at the various different types of pants. Some had pockets, some didn't. She elected to go with ones that had the pockets in them. She'd be carrying her mother's dagger today. Nothing dangerous was supposed to happen, but her family was always cautious. Rumors of shifts in the leadership in the White Fang were happening, and her father was stressed with running both the organization that was actively fighting racism and running a country. It didn't take a smart person to see that some writing was on the wall. Either her father would give up being head of Kuokuana, thus Menagerie, or he'd stay the head whilst turning the system over to a new leader. Blake had grown up around many of her father's followers, but also a fair number of his contemporaries that had different ideologies. Peaceful protests only got so far before riot police were called. Last year, alone, 3 Frontists died in Atlas because they were striking for unionization rights in a Schnee dust mine. It upset Blake, the deaths, but it infuriated her to no end when the Leos got off on a technicality. Her father had to stay in Atlas and Mantle for weeks. Those were dark days, especially with rival groups moving about, ones that wouldn't mind stringing up her father. She pushes those thoughts away though, he wasn't in some far-off kingdom, he was home. Getting into the clothes she'd wear for the day, Blake looked herself in the mirror. Humming at the coat color, she kind of wished she'd picked up the white one. Sighing, the girl walked toward the door, her bare feet lightly pressing against the flooring. Opening the door, she wandered into the hallway of her large house. 2 guards, White Fang guards, walked in unison down the hallway when they turned a corner. They gave nod as they passed by. Lady Belladonna. They both say in unison before walking past her, acknowledging that she was there as per protocol. Walking through the halls, she smelled it before she saw it. A mouthwatering aroma filled her nose. The aroma was presented on the table as her mother, Blake Belladonna, was busy looking at the oven. She turned to her daughter and smiled. Her cat ears, her fondest trait much like her daughter, was adorned with a gold ring on them. She wore a dark skirt, charcoal in color, with a white vest with sleeves. She was also sporting a large green apron whilst peeking into the oven. "Hello, my beautiful ray of moonlight. Bit of a slow morning so far, your father is finishing up with some stuff in the office, he'll be joining us for breakfast." Kali stated chirpily before peeking into the oven once again. "You seem hungry." "I smell salmon, of course I'm hungry." Blake felt her mouth water as she looked at the lemons on the table. "It is salmon isn't it, or is it tuna gods if it's tuna?" "Neither." Her mother opened the oven and pulled out the pan. "It's sea bass, it's freshly caught today, and I figured we'd try it." Blake hummed, she never tried sea bass before. Sitting at the table where a glass of orange juice was, she sipped on it. The tween girl yawned before scratching the back of her ear. She noted that there was some clouds outside, the sun periodically getting covered by them. "Mom." Blake observed a blackened cloud. "Is it finally going to rain?" That's the thing, your father is having a meeting on right now. We're getting reports from trade ships from Mistral, and they're saying that they ran into a tropical storm a couple days ago. It could have blossomed into a small typhoon. Either way, it's good news somewhat, minus some property damage, we'll have rain at last." Her mother answered in detail, not sparing anything. The girl smiled, nodding her head before taking a deep breath. "I had some sort of weird dream last night," she told her mother whilst seeing her prepare plates. "Oh, do tell my little nightshade." She beckoned before walking over with her plate. "Is it about boys?" What? No, nothing about boys." Blake quickly went on the defensive before taking a deep breath. "I was dreaming I was in a void of stars, swimming across them, as if I was in the middle of the sea with no land on the horizon." Her mother hummed whilst tapping her chin. "That's just one of those weird dreams we all get sometimes. I dreamt that it was raining freshly made Mistralian sushi the other night." Odds if only Blake caught herself before smiling. "Hey Dad." A rather large man, broad in shoulder, entered the kitchen. He had amber yellow eyes, and his face was adorned with a thick beard black as midnight. He wore an overcoat, brown in color, but under it his chest was exposed to reveal a large tuft of black hair in the middle. His black hair on his drooped past his ears, he had recently let it grow a little bit longer. Finding his chair, he sat down with a groan. "Morning my lovely daughter." He greeted Blake whilst looking on as Kali came over to sit a plate in front of him. "And good morning to you, my wife." Kali sneered playfully before leaning down and planting a kiss on his lips. "Morning to you as well, my love. I've come with good news today. The little meeting and speech I was going to do is getting pushed back. Sienna is wanting to host an event, and since the Fang's annual founding is coming up, I may save it till then. Plus, there is a storm blowing in from the northwest. Our last trade ship out is moored for the week. I've decided our sailors have a choice of wanting to barrel into it or not, they're choosing to enjoy the first summer shower of the year." Blake's father and Kali's husband beamed. Holly smiles whilst sitting in her chair. That's good, we'll have rain for the crops then, our farmers will go unburdened for the time being. What category typhoon are we looking at? She inquired afterward, noting Gira's hardened look. From what it looks like, monsoon conditions. Our western villages are preparing for floods near the rivers. I've ordered a contingent of our city's guard to them, help them prepare. Rain will begin near the afternoon, Kali, I'm finally taking a day off. He stated at end before leaning back, taking a very deep breath. It feels damn good as well. Blake smiles before taking a small knife and cutting into her sea base. She took the piece into her mouth, moaning at it. Mom, this is amazing. She praises before taking another bite in rapid succession. Blake. She looks at her father, noting his gaze falling on her. Is that Adam boy supposed to take you for sword practice tonight? Yes, Adam agreed to show me the ropes. I see. He took a deep breath and gave her a smile. Although the smile wasn't a truly genuine one. I suppose that this'll be right after you attend Sienna's event. It will be, after I eat, I'll pack a raincoat. If she only knew that the statement could hold a double meaning. Her father still gazed at her, and then he smiled. What is it, Dad? Oh, nothing, sweetheart. I'm just an old man observing his family. You know I love you, right? He reached over and patted her back. I'll always be here for you, no matter what. If you think that the White Fang should be under newer hands, that's your belief as well. She took a moment to gather herself. I just want to be happy. It's killing me see you always up from the crack of dawn till the moon is high working, Dad. He nods his head, understanding where she was coming from. His choice to take off today wasn't inauspicious. Things were being put into motion all around, and whilst he was still a capable leader, even he knew that as the years and months dragged on, his ability to maintain was lowering. He had missed many birthdays of his only child, lost time with his wife. If Sienna Khan was wanting the high leader position of the White Fang, perhaps it was time for him to step down on that end. Chieftain of Kuokuana and Menagerie as whole meant he could consolidate his victories for his people. Still, he worried about Sienna's more radical approach to things. An approach that more or less Blake was showing signs of having an affiliation with. Blake, sweetheart, your opinions are valid because you're an equal party member to our people. You'll not be a little girl for much longer, and at some point you either have to stop standing on the fence or build your own. He reached over and rubbed her shoulder. My beautiful daughter, your views are your own, and let no one change them unless they're ones that will cause undue harm onto others. I don't want to hurt humans. Blake told him before taking a deep breath. It's just that I'm tired of seeing our brothers and sisters getting beat up in the streets during protest with no recourse. If a few people get a black eye, what does it matter? Vera knew that was Sienna's reasoning, and that boy she had been hanging around with Adam. Adam, from what he learned, was Sienna's lackey in every sense of the word. At 14, he was 2 years older than his daughter. He wasn't a bad fighter from what he heard, but his own impassioned beliefs stemmed from a place of pain as well. Pain and passion seem good together until that passion starts demanding more pain. I'm not saying I hadn't had the thought. However, Blake, life isn't so black and white. You get what you give in this life. If you give pain, then expect pain. If you beget rage, expect rage to be wrought back onto you. I've seen personally what hatred does to someone. Gira warned her before taking a deep breath. It never ends pretty. Well, I never said I hated humanity. I hate the few bad apples. Why is it that they get off with impunity? Dad, what if I had gone to a rally in Mistral and it was me? Blake questioned. It was a blatant test question, but it was an honest and fair question. Gira, despite being a man of peace, wasn't above it all. I would hurt the bastard that hurt you, my dear. I never said I was a saint. However, as I stated, if I go out of my way to hurt someone, is it hard to believe that someone that they love would go out of their way to hurt me? He reasoned before removing his hand off her shoulder. Your young dear, listen to your father. One day, and hopefully not for a while, you'll be leading our people. Kali told her daughter before smiling over at her husband. Besides, there are some things you must disagree with Sienna on, right? Blake bit her cheek a little at that and sighs. I do disagree that we always have to show force. Sometimes Dad's methods work better, but then we have the ones that just want to hurt us. We can't just stand in a line, holding hands and giving well wishes while someone hoses us down with fire hoses and taser rounds. Their daughter pointed out, adding a particular detail. Who said that Atlas used taser rounds with the hoses? He questioned his daughter, confused by the particular detail. Adam, he had overheard Sienna mention it. Did he now? Gira eyed his daughter before nodding his head. Well, that's certainly a very cruel detail I wasn't made aware of. However, I fear that my time as a high leader of the White Fang is passing by me. I hope you won't mind your old man sitting on your girl time with Mom. No, never, Dad, I'm glad you're having breakfast with us. Blake quickly said whilst giving him a nervous smile. I mean it, I can't remember the last time we had this, and I'm glad you're treating me like a young woman. Ollie was sipping on her green tea when she looked at her husband. Dear, how do you feel about Sienna? For the longest time she's been your number two. She pointed before taking another sip. Her passion is sound, the rhetoric she poses is sound, but the method she proposes. I know, they're a little radical. However, our daughter here is in the camp that some things more must be done. I quite frankly understand, but Blake, at least take this into consideration. There is a fine line between what is justice and what is harm. I pray that you come to understand that. The patriarch of the Belladonna family told her whilst looking at his tea. You do know there's a fine line, correct? That I do, Dad, that I do. She waved off before going back to her fish. Ira took a moment to breathe and sighed. He reached down for the knife, cutting his sea bass into neat slices before taking one into his mouth. His face flushed and he giggled like a madman. When did you become a master chef, dear? He complimented her under the guise of a question. HMPH, and I thought I won you over with my cooking. Kuokuana City Plaza 3 hours later. High noon came and went without much ado. The bustling center of Kuokuana was filled with market stands and small shops across the plaza. No motor vehicles were in sight and the city streets never really meant to support a lot of them to begin with. The occasional supply truck went by, carrying cargo from the docks that were just a little over 10 miles away from the center. Seagulls chirped and called high in the sky. The various buildings around the plaza only stood at most 3 stories tall. Kuokuana was a tall city whatsoever. It didn't have the majestic skyscrapers like Vale and Mistral had. Its sprawl was well maintained, unlike Vacuo's, but where it lacked in modernity, it made up for in natural beauty. Blake Belladonna had pushed for the beautification of their city. Although their small capital was positioned on the most hostile land known to any life, her father made an effort to push for Kuokuana to look the part. Palm trees lined the courtyard of the plaza, the government buildings stood to the south of it all. Not blocking the sun. Mosaic stone formed the pattern symbol of menagerie. People from all over the island came and went through this plaza at the very least once in their life. The villages to the southwest and west. She watched as the city guards patrolled the plaza. They were white uniforms, easily identifiable. Each uniform was made with leather and iron plating. It was cobbled, not expertly, but it served the purpose well enough. Each patrol member, man or woman, wore charcoal-colored underclothing with the armor. The armor had red claw marks on each right pad to symbolize the unity with the white members. Where the continents had huntsmen and huntresses, menagerie had the fang. Blake was currently sitting on a bench, awaiting her friend and mentor. She heard him chuckle and looked up. His red hair, short and curled at the front, waved in the hot winds as the dark clouds gathered above. She heard thunder in the distance with her cat ears. Adam held no such feature, instead his frontis trait was 2 little black horns that adorned the top of his head. His blue eyes matched the color of the oceans off the coast of somewhere like Vacuo. Adam wasn't Managerian born. He was from Mantle of all places and came to be at Kuokuana a few years back after his parents died in a mining accident. Sienna Khan took him in and mixed with her rhetoric, she had turned him into a son almost. Blake would not admit to it openly, but his passion for their people is what drove her to see Sienna's views as being more justifiable. Especially given the recent riot police incidents in Mistral's Arga City and Mantle City of Atlas. She flipped the page in her book, using a hairpin clip to the side of it as a bookmarker. She saw a teen smile at her, his face unblemished. Hello, she smiles at him. Adam. The teenager looked at her, smiling as well. Hello there, Princess Nightshade. He called her by her pet name before sitting down. Sienna's event isn't for another couple hours, we can go training. Can I use Wilt this time? Blake questioned excitedly. No, you're going to be using a practice sword like usual. Besides, little kids like you shouldn't playing with actual swords. He stated whilst patting her head, smiling softly at her. I actually have a nice spot we can go to where the rain won't get to us. Speaking of that, do we know what class of typhoon it is? She inquired. Honestly, Sienna said something of a class 2. Not much damaging winds, just pure blissful rain at last. Good for morale for everyone, I know everyone has to be tired of this heat in the air. Adam sighed before getting up and offering his hand. Come on, Nightshade, let's get to swinging our blades together. She rolls her eyes before taking his hand, getting led away from the plaza. The eastern wall of Kuokuana 1 hour later. Walking through city itself wasn't much of an issue. Kuokuana wasn't tremendously large. There was mountains to the west that acted like natural walls, filling the gaps where tall walls. These walls were lined with city guard, for the west was filled with Grim. These creatures of darkness and bloodlust. Their land had been hard fought for, long before even Kuokuana had been founded. Hundreds, if not thousands of Faunus warriors of old perished to secure the western mountain range. Grim from time to time would probe the walls. However, the city guard was trained. On top of each section of the wall was a tower that was armed with 3 heavy autocannons. A small horde of jackals, which were thinner versions of the standard Valelian Beowulf, would find itself quick torn to shreds. What presented the danger was just beyond the mountain pass into the west was the desert itself. Deathworms, giant worm-like Grim with 2 heads, scoured the sands. Death Seekers, which were lizard-like Grim that ran on 2 legs and having voracious claws, often hunted groups of 12 or more. They were strong enough to kill huntsmen individually, at least that's what Blake was told. However, nothing compared to the true fear of what could only be described as a beast of legend. It was talked about, but no one really knew it existed. Adam, I have a question. Blake casually blocks a very light-hearted swing from Wilt as Adam turned on his heel to deliver another light-hearted blow. Have you ever heard of the Girdle? Of course I have, what person hasn't? I personally find it frightening if it does exist, I mean a Grim with a humanoid body on top of the body of a giant scorpion. It sounds like it's par for the course, but even Grim, he shuddered slightly as he thought it. That's a bit much. Blake found herself giggling at her mentor's sudden nervousness. She pressed forward, stepping into the swing. They did these so-called motions, it wasn't meant to practice the power of the swing, but the form. On the outside, it looked like worthless training, but for sword wielders form was everything. If you lost grip or twist the hand the wrong way, you ran the risk of just slapping your enemy instead of cutting them. Whilst steel paddle across the face, neck, even torso might sting. That was all it would do, just sting, and meanwhile they'd reared back and have an opening. If one got the motions down, it wouldn't the swing speed of the blade, it would strike true. Adam casually blocks the strikes before something wet hit his head. He smiles, backing away with his left hand open, catching raindrops with it. Well, look here, the drought is over. Ah, the raindrops are cold too. Come on, Nightshade, let's go get under some shade to put our raincoats on. He motioned for her to follow, which she did dutifully. The guard wearing a yellow poncho was walking past them. Adam. He greeted the swordsman casually as he passed. Does he know you? Blake inquired whilst getting under cover just as a wild whipped the air, blowing rain hard against the wall for the first time in months. Adam shrugs, humming a little. I don't really know. He admitted. I kind of know everyone, since well, I am considered the son of Sienna. Well, I get that, everyone pretty much knows who I am. She bit her lip and thought aloud. For once though, I wish go somewhere with some anonymity. So you wanna go somewhere where you're not special? That's noble. Adam stated before sitting on the bench, changing his sandals into rain boots and handing Blake her pair. Pray tell me, Nightshade, what are your dreams one day? I want the days where Faunus and humanity live in harmony. It's going to take a while, but I think Sienna's right that if we stop letting them step on us, then they'd have to treat us as full equals. She rubbed the back of her head a little bit, it was a nervousness in her attitude. I want to one day walk into a place and no one turn their eyes to me no longer than they the next person. Adam nods his head at that and smiled slightly. I honestly think the only real way we can ever get understanding between our races is if they had to experience what we did. He then nudged his head side to side whilst thinking. It's not that I find slavery correct, but I don't think anyone can fully understand another person without going through the same pain. Blake wanted to slightly balk at the idea of forcing humanity to perhaps have a taste of their own medicine. However, she felt in her heart that Adam had a point. How can anyone truly understand someone else's pain without experiencing it themselves? It's one thing to sympathize with one another, it was an entirely different ballgame when it comes to empathy. Although, she had her reservations on the idea since it meant doing unjustifiable evil on another. Deep in her heart, she knew Adam's words didn't actually mean what they sounded like, he was merely making an observation on how humans sometimes skim over facts. So, where are we going next, Adam? Blake asked whilst putting on the rain boots. Might grab a bite to eat before attending Sienna's rally at the city hall. He answered before getting up, grabbing an umbrella for her, whilst putting on a poncho. Alright, you ready? As much I ever will be, I suppose. Hey, doesn't those clouds seem a little green to you? She pointed up at the sky, seeing the greenish-looking clouds off in the distance toward the city. You're right. I'll call it in as me our way back towards the plaza. The redeeded swordsman stated before getting out his scroll. Pulling it open, he began to dial. Soon a woman in red clothing answered, she had tiger-like ears on top of her head. She had crossed arms and looked at him. Adam, what's going on? She questioned. I'm with Blake, and she pointed out possible hail clouds off in the distance. Are we still having the event inside? He inquired before starting to walk with Blake. Of course, we are, Adam, I need you to meet me after the event. It's rather important, so I need to meet you alone. She told him whilst looking over toward Blake. Sorry Belladonna. Oh no, no worries, I understand Adam has work to do. Hello Ms. Khan. Blake fidgeted nervously whilst looking at the tigress. Adam was just helping me get the motions down with my practice sword. Sienna smiles and looked at Adam. Okay, well now, perhaps you'd be good amongst our ranks one day. The sign-on age is 13 and your birthday is next year. She left that open-aired, but she knew that Blake was gone. She was too much like her father when younger, so impassioned and impulsive. Of course, I wouldn't have it any other way. She stated whilst holding the umbrella up. Thank you, are you saying that I'd be a Fang member if I joined up? Would it ever be the White Fang without a Belladonna inside of it? Adam openly questioned, but more stated. Come on now, Nightshade, time to get going. Right, don't want to be late for Sienna's speech. In the endless scene non-existent. Dum. His heartbeat, how long had he gotten used to the sound coming from his chest? The silence in this void of starlight was deafening. His azure eyes found the specks of light as he floated, focusing on them, and he felt drawn to them. The fox was silent inside of him, obviously, he had healed over time, but his body felt numb and sore. His eyes widened when he saw something in the distance, moving among the specks. It was like the dragons of myth, long and golden. It swam amongst stars, slithering across constellations of specks. What was this place, where was he, when was he going to feel solid ground once again? These questions swirled in his mind and he felt heat for the first time. One of the specks was moving closer to him, his eyes widened when he saw storm clouds inside of the speck. What in the world was all of this, why was this even here, and what was even here to begin with? An endless sea beset by distant shores. It spoke with resonance, its very voice shuddering the void. He said aloud before listening to the voice as it rumbled the air around him. What in the, where did that come from? Slowly, but surely he felt something looking at him. His eyes darting back and forth until he found the golden dragon's visage approaching him. His eyes widened tremendously before it stops just in front of him. It was truly a massive beast, no doubt bigger than Konoha itself. Naruto weakly raises his hand up, his finger brushed against the claw of the beast. A sailor away from home. It observed Naruto, flowing around in coils despite its front not moving whatsoever. Sailor Naruto weakly gathered himself. I'm not a sailor, what are you? The caretaker of the endless sea. It introduced itself, giving no shortening to its own title at all, yet Naruto didn't feel fear from him, he felt warmth. That time the voice echoed across the void itself, the blonde took a minute. Gathering himself, he struggled as the speck got closer to him. Naruto took a moment to gather himself more and reached deep into himself to awaken the nine tails, but found that he was too weak to do so. It was at least talking to him, so that meant it was friendly, right? I'm Naruto Uzumaki. The boy introduced himself, just glad to feel something other than the void itself around. So sorry if I'm gripping your claw hard, Mr. Dragon thing whatever. The golden looked bemused, its wide eyes staring down at the boy. He found a pure heart, but a heart also tainted with darkness. Two souls occupying one body, was this the boy that had entered their domain? Perhaps he was, but he could have sworn a long time ago that another had entered beforehand. Yet, they were elusive to him. I am the caretaker of the endless sea. The dragon repeated itself from earlier. That's a mouthful, can I just call you caretaker? Naruto asked weakly in between breaths, his eyes having bags under them. The light from the golden dragon revealed his body. His chest was marred by a fresh scar over the left lung, and obviously he hadn't eaten in some time. Naruto's azure eyes, now in the light, looked dulled with calmness and acceptance. The golden dragon, looking upon him, felt one thing he hadn't felt in a very long time for someone. Pity. Young child from distant shores, Naruto. It called him before looking into his azure eyes. I sense a pure heart, a just soul, but I also sense evil from you. That's probably big dumb furball sealed in my gut. Sorry if he's somehow upsetting you. Naruto quickly apologized, still floating on his back. Caretaker. No. The golden dragon corrected Naruto. I sense it already, and its soul is one of pure rage and pain. Yours is similarly afflicted. Can you take me home then, or is this the afterlife? The boy questioned before shaking his head and sighing. Well, I went on my own terms, at least hope Sasuke knows that. Sasuke? It questioned him. It's a very long story. Naruto commented before noting the look in the dragon's eye. Do you want to hear it? I am an eternal being. I've existed for countless eons. What now? The golden dragon hummed and then did something equally surprising. He chuckled for the first time in nearly 2,000 years. You're not very bright, are you, child? It commented. Hey. I'm just wondering where the heck I am at this point, you know. Am I dead? Are you guiding me to the afterlife? Wait, does that mean I can finally meet them? Naruto's eyes beamed with happiness, watering slightly. Me too. My parents. Oh man, I can finally meet them. I always heard that died during the Nine Tails attack on our village. That they were brave shinobi, that they fought harder than anyone else. If I'm dead and this the in-between, that means I can see them. He cried out before tears spilled from his eyes and looking at the dragon. I can be with my family. There it was, the one thing the dragon knew all too well. The pain of seeing someone suffer loss and then gain hope and only to have it ripped away again. His own clawed hands eons ago had done so out of a lesson for another. Yet, this boy was far too young to understand where he was, and to be clear, not many would ever understand what it truly means to float among stars and worlds in the in-between. Child, this isn't the afterlife. You've been sent to the in-between by forces larger than us both. Strings of fate pulled you from the void to here, amongst the endless sea of stars. The dragon tried to clarify before sighing in frustration slightly. You're not dead, nor am I death. Death is a wolf who calls you. I am here to seek why I felt another's life force here. That bummed Naruto out instantly, making stare dejectedly into the darkness off to the side. Well, that was some hope right there at least, but hey, do you want to hear my story? He still offered up, smiling weakly. I suppose it couldn't hurt, little one. The dragon coiled around him, warming him, but its face never leaving Naruto's. Go, regale me. Ari what? Ah, tell your story, that is what it means to regale someone. The dragon commented before watching the blonde scrunch his face up. What is it? Oh, nothing, I could have sworn I saw someone else here. Another dragon. Naruto observed over the dragon's head, seeing a dark blackish violet dragon flying around the specks, but then suddenly consuming one. You can see it as well, huh, That would be my brother, do not fear, he cannot harm you unless I choose to let him. The golden dragon stated before noting Naruto's face when it felt its brother consume one of the specks. What's he doing? We are balance, I am a caretaker that nurtures new worlds. My brother recycles old dead worlds. We use the energy of life to make new ones. The golden dragon explained before moving claw in a rotation. Tell me about your story, child of two souls. Well, considering I have the nine-tailed fox in me, I guess that makes sense. Anyway, I was born right before the nine tails was sealed into me. I grew up alone and eventually I found my first friends. They helped me and made me realize that I couldn't do things alone, nor could I bear the pain alone. Naruto held his hand over his heart, thinking about them. They're probably all worried about me now, and Sasuke. That name again, you say it with a very mixed amount of emotions, why? Well, Sasuke is just someone who's stuck in darkness. He's full of pain because his brother killed his entire clan and he left our village for power. I didn't want him to go down the road, so I followed him and I tried to stop him. I don't know if it worked, but we fought and fought hard. I have a scar on my chest now from where he stabbed me with his Chidori. Naruto finally noticed the scar brush his hand on the irritated flesh and scrunching up a little bit. I love him like a brother, so I took the pain that was giving with his fists. The dragon stayed silent, absorbing all of this. Naruto took a deep breath. We clashed and somehow we opened up something. He would have fallen in with me too, but I pushed him away at the last moment. The blonde smiled softly before laying his back as tears rolled down his eyes. I remember him shouting for me, and I don't know if it was because he was angry or trying to help me. That wasn't a very long story. Then again, you haven't lived a long life either. I find that you might have stories to one day form. Sadly, however, I fear that I cannot return you home. I don't know which world you're frankly from, we've created so many. The dragon explained itself before smiling a little and showing its teeth. However, I have been monitoring this world right behind us. It's on the cusp, and I fear the path it might take. All of a sudden the dark dragon, a much more broad dragon than slender sky serpent of gold, appeared right next to him. Brother, not another failure champion for that world. It hissed before looking at the boy. Just throw him at any world besides that one and be done with it. Tenebris. The golden dragon called its brother. Lest you forget, we still await their test. They've already failed and you know it. Why continue to give them chances? Your punishment went unheeded, the champion you chosen betrayed and flounders since. This world is dying, there is nothing that can be done. Umbra scornfully stated before reaching for Naruto, who recoiled only for the golden dragon block him. What are you doing, soulless? You and I both know that we are to blame for that world's state. However, what is done is done. We promised to no longer intervene personally, but I should have known sending him after her was a mistake. We've learned since then, grown, perhaps it's time that I give a chance for something new to happen, no objective, but merely what used to do. Soulless, the dragon looked down toward Naruto, smiling. What are you two talking about? So he is not a champion of yours? Tenebris inquired before glaring at Naruto, sensing his soul. Oh great, I think you've finally lost all reason. I have not lost all reason. This child beholden to our endless sea can breathe new life into a faltering world. He understands the cycle, deep down, I know it. I don't want him as a champion, likewise we cannot leave out here, nor throw him at a random world. Solus argued back before turning toward Naruto, the child biting his lip. Do I get a say in this? I mean I just want to go home. I know that's impossible, but I don't want to be someone's champion, I just ga. Naruto gripped his head before tossing and turning. I just wanted to live, you know. I mean, I don't what I mean, this is all a lot to take in you know. Tenebris and Solus looked at him, both then looked back at each other. Solus was the first to respond to the boy, softly speaking to him. I'm deeply sorry, but we cannot locate your home. This is an endless sea. Gods we may be, omniscient we are not despite what my brother might like to believe. It said before looking at Tenebris fully, the dark dragon god scoffing. So you finally admit it. You are not so wise, brother of mine. Nor am I, I'll agree that to that huh. Tenebris thought for a moment. This is the first time we've agreed with each other nearly 2000 years, dear brother. Strangely enough, you're correct. Strange happenstance, but perhaps this meant to be. Between us, creators, and the other spirits of the sea of existence. I see great darkness in this child, yes, perhaps he'll jeopardize this world further. Perhaps he'll just become another cog in the wheel of it all, grow up and just raise a family, her Solus took a deep but sorrowful breath. Correct a mistake we made so long ago, because we had no way to truly understand. Hey, the boy's voice carried softly through the void reaching them both. We all make mistake, you know. I guess even gods, but to be fair, isn't that just the reason why things are more precious? People learn, people change, people move forward or walk backwards. We're all different, trying to guess what one person will do is like guessing where first drop of rain will hit in a monsoon. The boy suddenly laughed out loud, rubbing the back of his head. Wow, don't know where that came from, but I guess I think you both click with me. He said unsure if it was the right thing. I just want you two to know that I am not angry at both of you for not being able to send me home, but I lost everything now. His eyes dulled over, he looked into himself and frowns. I just hope that my sacrifice didn't go in vain. All I ever wanted was someone to acknowledge me for who I was, not some demon brat, but a fellow person, someone who was an equal. The blonde languished before reaching toward his heart. I'll never let go of anything though, I'll keep holding on to the life I was building before. Your words that speak and resonate with me, child. Very well, Solus, but there is a condition. Tenebris suddenly reached with its clawed hand, tapping it onto Naruto's forehead. He must not remember this conversation until the time comes for the test, and then only then will we judge what our creation wrought. Naruto felt a pulse of energy ring through him, eyes widened, and his pupils shrank before disappearing completely. He floated, seemingly lifeless through the void. Solus frowned at that, but understood the logic of it all. If Tenebris was willing to see what this boy could do for the world, it had to be organic and natural. No interference allowed on their part, that was the deal of the test. Ozma failed me a long time ago when he joined her at the hip. Salem failed you longer still when she took hold of your creations. Brother, I wish to gift with him one thing. The claw of the golden dragon tapped next to Naruto's already blemishing mark where Tenebris had poked him. I doubt he speaks same language as those on Remnant, so, better to have him understood so that he can at least have a chance at life. That energy from him. Chakra, it was the creation after aura we made. What if he's able to? Tenebris hung on the thought for a moment. The dark ones might come for him if they notice an anomaly with this world. Which is why we protect the balance, brother. Come, I fear that our prisoner is getting restless. Solus turned to Naruto before pushing him through the storming speck. Fair winds and strong hearts, Naruto Uzumaki. We will be watching you, waiting, do as you wish with this life, a life that you could have had. The skies over the new sea. 7 p.m. His eyes widened for the first time, all he remembered was falling into the void. Now he awoke to being above storm clouds. Weakly he reached out toward his innermost consciousness. Finding the nine tails lulled to sleep by some force. His forehead hurt and he reached his hand up to find a fresh mark on it. Tracing the heat, he found that it was in the symbol of swirl. His eyes rolled backwards before he passed out. The swirl mark on his forehead, which started from 2 points on it. One with golden ink and the other violet, swirled into each other. It floods his brain with things, whilst removing others. He faintly remembered 2 names in his head, Solus and Tenebris, whatever those names meant. Rain pelts him as he flew downwards. Storm washing his body of the sweat gunk that built up whilst he had been fighting Sasuke. Blood that soaked him dropped away in clumps of brownish red from the rainwater. His last sight before breaching the clouds was that he was over a city of some sort, a port city. Naruto took a deep breath and finally let himself free fall. The winds carrying him, slamming him to and from. It eventually moved him just over a large estate inside of the city, and as he freefalls, the blonde's body limply made no attempt at combating the winds. The last thing he felt, right before any sensation cut out completely, was the mark on his forehead disappearing. Then came the sudden instant of pain, pain from the battle before, and now pain as he smacked into canopies of palm trees on estate. Smacking right into the small courtyard garden, breaking the ground of its tile when he impacted. Poor Blake Belladonna was just exiting the house when this orange blob smacked right in front of her, making her jump back and drop of her tea set. Era. End of chapter. Chapter 2. Falling down. Even monkeys fall from trees. Old proverb. Kuokuana. Belladonna Estate 4:30 p.m. Rain pelted the tiles of the large estate. Its red roof glistening from the light that pierced periodically through grey clouds. It stood at 2 stores, made with sandstone. The house itself was old, older than many others, and had been situated at the heart of residential districts of Kuokuana. Many things were passed down from chieftains of the past. Kali's father having been the former chieftain, and when she married Gira, it assured him his seat. She knew, however, that wasn't the reason that they wedded. With Blake out of the house and frolicking amongst the others, she and Gira found themselves alone for the first time in months. Minus the few guards in and out of the house. They had specifically been told to not enter and the hallways entering into their shared bedroom. Gira was currently laying in bed, his wife resting on his chest. Both under blankets, both having been holding an amorous congress just a few minutes prior. He was glad to have taken today off. "My love," she turned to him as he spoke. "I'm sorry about earlier if I came off cold in the morning." "Think nothing of it, dear. We all have our moments." She played with the fur on his chest. "You've more than made it up to me." Ira smiled softly, planting a chaste kiss on Kali's lips. "We're going to run out of raincoat soon." He reminded her before having her snuggle up closer. "I've been thinking, what if we tried for another baby?" Kali snorted a little bit, resting her head on his shoulder. "I've thought about it as well, with Blake almost a teenager. It's not such a bad idea." "Oh really?" He purred before rubbing her cheek with his left hand. "Not such a bad idea," she says. She nuzzled up to him, kissing on his neck. Gira was about to indulge the fantasy when a knock came at his door. Groaning, the large man leaned up. Calling out to the door, his voice carrying a sense of annoyance. "What is it?" He inquired loudly enough to be heard from the closed door. "Chieftain, one of the villages to the west have reported some casualties. They're getting battered by the storm." The voice called out. Throwing off the blanket, the man sighed and looked at his wife. He leaned over, kissing her deeply. Breaking the kiss before getting up, he puts on his pants and over jacket. "To be continued later, my beautiful wife," Gira stated before giving her time to cover up. He marched over toward the door and opened it to the city guard captain. "Chief, I'm sorry to bother you from your congress. Anyway, follow me please, I'll give you the full rundown of the situation." The city guard captain beckoned him, nudging with his head. His buck teeth slightly showing to indicate his frontis trait. Gira walked with a sense of purpose to his study with the captain. Entering the study and watching as 2 guards shut the door. He went over to his sofa and sat at the table. 3 guards came in with maps, some already with red marker on them. Plans of action, he recognized an additional face, a large bull of a man. "Atlas, my good friend." Gira greeted him with a handshake that was both firm and strong. "It must truly be serious if they've brought you here." "It is, my friend, the causalities are non-fatal. However, we had a levee break near this coastal village of Inokai. Reports suggest around 40 injuries, with half those being serious. We can have the transport corps move out in 5 minutes. However, this leads us to another serious problem." Atlas gets out a report and slides it onto the table. "Menageries only ever had 1 hospital here in Kuokuana. But various injuries from multiple villages, we've been sending our pilots out on sorties in the storm. I wasn't aware of these other villages." Gira breathed whilst looking through the reports. "I delegated for today to Saber." The captain nods his head, "Yes sir, and I'm sorry. I've been doing the best I can. Yet, we've now ran into an extreme issue that requires your guidance." He pointed at the report, sitting next to Gira. "If we choose to take any more injured, Menagerie's only hospital would be over capacity." "I see." Atlas grunts, rubbing his bald head where 2 very large horns adorned it. "Menagerie has always viewed Kuokuana as a place of safety. It would damage our relationship with the other heads of the villages if we said no to them." He warned Gira, who nodded his head and stroked his beard. "I made a promise to my people upon the day I took over from Kali's father. That I would guide my people, protect my people, and shelter my people. My actions were already clear from the start. Go pick up the wounded, ensure that triage is given and priority to the most injured first." Gira took a deep breath and looked at Saber. "How long until the typhoon passes?" "Another 24 hours. Saber answered before getting his bearings before standing up. "The barracks will be opened up to allow people who lightly injured a night's rest. We're going to up sky patrols when the storm lightens in the area to keep an eye out for Grim." "Very good." The large chieftain praised him, patting his shoulder pad. Get to it, and Atlas, see to it that any family opening their house up for any more injured are given ration cards for more food. I know it's playing favorites, but a kindness should beget some sort of reward." Atlas nodded his head, standing up and saluting with his left fist over his chest. "Your will be done, Chief." He and Saber exited the room to fulfill their tasks. Sighing, the man leaned back on the sofa and then thought about the flood of people to the hospital. If any more injured were to come, then things would get dicey, since a lot of the moderately injured would be forced out beds to give room for those more heavily injured. Grabbing the maps, he saw that the storm was blowing into Inokai hard, but noted that other villages were within the strike zone as it made landfall fully. Honolulu and Makani. Knowing that more injured would likely be reported, he took his moment to breathe before getting up. He walked to the door of the study, opening it to see Kali standing there. She was not smiling, but she wasn't frowning either. She patted his shoulder before getting on her toes to kiss his cheek. Her nightrobe clung to her closely, with the guards gone from the hallway. "My dear, please, just don't overwork yourself." She held him tightly before kissing him on his lips. "You mean the world to me, I hate seeing you work so hard." "I know my dear, but I swore an oath to our people." He struck her left cheek with his thumb. "Perhaps sometime in the next few days we can try this again." "I'd love that." She broke the hug before kissing his. "Maybe try something else, among other things." She began to walk away, but not before adding a slight sway to her hips. Gira was tempted to take another 2 hours, but as he shook his head to get it out of the gutter. She turned the corner, playfully whilst sending a wink toward him. That woman drove him crazy in all the right ways. 1 hour later. Ali was walking down toward the dining room. She sighed whilst wearing her robes and long skirt. She had seen Gira leave for his study and more people began to pour in. The storm must have gotten bad in most parts of Menagerie, with Kuokuana being spared with a glancing blow that brought forth major amounts of needed rain. The farmers would be happy, their crops would be saved. Still, with the western villages taking heavy hits, she watched from the window as another transport came in. The 5th one of the hour. She took a deep breath, looking at her dining and sat down on her knees on a padded cloth. Tea in hand, she sipped slowly before thinking on what Gira had said earlier. Another baby. She was nearing her 35th birthday and he was knocking on 38 in a couple months. They would be older and the stress of pregnancy would be much tougher. Plus, Blake was with 13 in 5 months. She'd be a teenager and of course that would bring its own challenges. Sighing to herself, she absently rubbed her stomach. "Can we really have another, Gira? I would want another, I'd love another, but can we handle the stress from it? You're always working and doing everything you can for our people. It's why I love you, but even still another child." Biting her lip before sighing, she sipped her tea before hearing a very loud crack of thunder. Getting up from the table and taking her tea with her on a tray, the matriarch of the Belladonna family moved toward the back door to the large estate. She opened up, coming to the balcony, overlooking her garden. Palm trees swayed in the wind. The woman was just about to set her tea set down when suddenly another large burst of thunder filled the air. She looked up into the sky, seeing a strange golden light briefly light up one of the clouds. That's some weird lightning. She thought to herself, only to see something breached past the clouds before following it with her eyes. Breaking eye contact with it, she moved down toward the garden, nearing a gazebo on the outside of it. She was intending to sit under it, listen to rain whilst drinking her tea. The first thing she noted something was wrong was the feeling of something heading for her. She backs away from the gazebo and watched as something orange descended from the sky rapidly. It had no agency over its own movement and when it smacked into the palm tree over the gazebo, she saw the old tree bend. It bent downward, carrying against the impact of the orange object before snapping and allowing him to just fall and crash into the tile below. Kali dropped her tea set as the realty hit her. She saw an impression in the ground, a small semicircular hole about 2 feet deep. She ran over to it and then gazed at the horror. It only had taken her 10 seconds of looking to realize that the object that had fallen was actually a person. Said person looked very young, blonde hair, whisker marks on his face. Blood practically leaked from his mouth and flowed into a small puddle beginning to form near his face. He wasn't moving, wasn't making any attempts at a breath. She did the one thing her instincts told her to do. "Ira!" She screamed with all of her worth whilst diving into action. "Guards!" She dove at the boy, dragging him up from the depression that used to be part of her garden. Laying him flat on stone tiles, bent down to listen. Hearing a very faint heartbeat but no breathing, she began to set her old profession into action. Clutching her right hand above her left, she began to lean over him and start pumping into his chest. 100 beats, 100 beats, 100 beats she repeated to herself mentally before rapidly compressing the person's chest. Must keep circulation going, don't stop, stay alive. Stay alive. Stay alive. Each time she pressed down on his chest, some blood would leak out of his mouth. That wasn't good, at least one of his lungs wasn't doing great. It probably had a hole in it, which meant invasive surgery was going to be needed. The guard came running over, a woman. She had claws for hands, very sharp claws. Lady Belladonna. She screamed whilst looking at the boy. Did he try to attack you or something? No, gods no, he just fell from somewhere in the sky. She yelled whilst compressing his chest. I need you take over in 3, 2, 1. Holly backed off as the woman got to her knees over and began to take over compressions. She placed 2 fingers over his jugular and then her other 2 fingers near the femoral artery. She was checking to see if the pulse could be felt throughout the body and she sighed in relief when she felt it in both places. His pulse was still weak, but if she felt it down and up, that meant the compression were circulating blood throughout. Lady Collie, the guardess called. I'm at 90, prepare to switch whilst I get on a radio. Holly nodded her head and no sooner than she got to her 100th compression did Collie bend down. She took another 10 seconds, listening with both her human and Franus ears. There was still no breathing, his chest didn't move on its one. Growling, she went back to her former position and began to pump his chest again. Holly. She turned to see Gira running with some other guards, he turned them. Medics, now. He ordered, making them run back toward the house as he slid just over the boy's head. What happened? I don't know, I was seeing something orange falling from the sky and I figured it was something a high altitude transport. I was going down to gazebo to drink some tea and that's when this person slammed into the palm tree and pretty much slammed into the ground. She told Gira whilst continuing her compressions. We've been at compressions for 3 minutes. Okay, I'll take over next. Gira said whilst readying himself. Do you smell that? She looked down and saw that small pool was forming near his lower abdomen. He urinated himself, it's possible that he's also evacuating himself. She checked his pulse, finding it growing slightly weaker. Damn it, come on now. Dear. Gira started compressions, pressing down hard as he felt a couple of pops from the person's ribsage. He had broken a couple of ribs, possibly cracking sternum. The man was on his 50th compression when a man in white armor slid next to him. He was carrying some equipment. Lady Belladonna, Chief, please clear. He ordered them as both leapt up from the person as 2 more similar dressed people came and began working on him. We've got a male, young. Not breathing for what we can tell 5 minutes. Trauma across the body, I'm using my semblance to scan his skeletal structure. The man said as his eyes slightly glowed. Got broken ribs, sternum. Both legs are broke, left arm is shattered. Right, Vista, I'm starting a breathing tube. A female medic stated whilst getting out rubber tubing out from a bag along with a device meant to help him breathe. She got the pump out and shoved the rubber piping into the boy's mouth. Need. Got it? Vista said as he got the device from his assistant behind him. The assistant got scissors and slashes the kid's clothing, revealing the bare chest. Do you have the tube and Victoria? Yes. The large wolf-like ears on her perked up under when the ringing charge began. Clear. She watched as Vista hit the boy with a blast of electricity once both pads were secured above his left shoulder and below his right pectoral muscle. They pressed a button on the ED before the blonde suddenly jolted. A gurney was quickly being rushed over as the paramedics began to do so again and another jolt made the blonde's eyes slightly open up. Hey. The paramedic yelled out as he saw the blue eyes of the kid. Are you okay, can you understand me? The kid's eyes rolled back, making Vista cursed as his dark skin was kissed with sweat. Damn it, okay, he's getting a normal pulse back. Up we go, come on Victoria. Victoria and him equally lifted him up onto the gurney as they raced toward the mansion. Gira and Kali were following them as the man looked at the kid. He noted a fresh scar over his chest and a strange tattoo over his stomach. Was this kid some sort of bandit that was on transport or worse yet, one of the few victims of slaver camps in the harsher west that was being flown out? He'd have to get answers if the kid survived. Can we get him to the hospital? Gira questioned whilst running alongside them with Kali. Why are we heading into the mansion? Chief, our hospital is practically overflowing. We're gonna have to do emergency surgery here, plus the rain is getting ready to start back in earnest. Vista stated before running into the lobby with a gurney scratching some of the wood on the floor. Right there, on the table. Victoria and Vista stopped the gurney before placing the kid on the table. The man tied his hair back, watching as Victoria got some antibacterial swabs out, gloves, and face masks. She swabbed her hands before putting the mask on, and then her gloves. Vista was doing the same as his assistant also began to dress up. He snapped his fingers at the assistant. Scalpel blade. He was handed the scalpel whilst using his semblance to scan over his body. He found where a piece of his ribcage was stuck in the boy's chest. Lady Belladonna, Chief, you might want to turn away. Gira and Kali refused, leaving Vista to nod his head. He cut a nice hole into the boy's side, reaching in to pull the rib fragment out of the lung. Sweat poured down his brow as he did another cursory scan. finding that there was some organ damage but no other breaches. "We got a pint of O negative," the assistant called out. "Want me to begin the transfusion pump?" "Not yet, let me close him up after getting rib fragment out." He watched as Victoria reached into the medical bag again, pulling out a large spoil of threading. "Sterile?" "Yes, Vista, sterile." She answered immediately whilst seeing him pulling the offending rib piece out, tossing it aside before getting both his hands into the small cavity. He began to weave the wound to his lung closed, quickly making sure that no other bleeding was to occur that wouldn't be manageable. He wiped his brow off with his forearm before sewing the boy's side closed. Taking a moment to adjust himself, Vista checked his pulse. Blood was dripping from the table, but thankfully the stitches were holding nicely. Taking a minute, counting the beats. He looked towards Victoria. "He's got a steady pulse, but I'm concerned over the fact that his skeletal structure is heavily damaged. The hospital is too full, all ORs are in use. The ICU is filled up." Vista looked toward Gira, nodding his head. "Chief, it may be best to bed him here. I can make a call for some equipment to be brought in." Gira thought for a moment, nodding his head. "Very well, besides I need to question him when he wakes up." He allowed them to take the boy back on the gurney. "Can someone come and get the blood off the floor?" "It'll be off in a jiffy." A young woman called out whilst her yellow foxtail tied around her waist and her green eyes shone with aura. "I'm with them, I usually go behind and clean up." "Thank you." Kali hadn't seen her before. "What is your name?" "My name is Midori. I'm with Vista, Victoria, and Castor." She looked at the assistant already starting a transfusion line. "So, please, in order for us to do care we need to know everything." Kali nods her head and begins regaling her. "I was out in my garden to get some fresh air when this boy slammed into a palm tree from the air. Speaking of that, honey, please can you confirm if we had any transports over our airspace during that time?" she inquired, watching as he nodded. "I'll get on the call with Atlas." The man sighed before walking upstairs. "Tell them that can whatever with the guest bedroom that ensures he's going to survive." "Okay." Kali turns back to Midori. "Midori, is he going to make it?" "Too early to tell, but if Vista is trying to get somewhere to monitor the outlook could be good. If what you're implying is true, then the kid will be lucky if he walks again. Never heard of someone falling high enough like that without some type of damage, let alone without aura." Midori told her before taking a deep breath, smiling slightly. "Time will tell, but if you're willing to open up your home, then we'll gladly use the space. Speaking of, we've got another round patients being flown in. Use any space that you can, but if they're critical send them to any open spaces within the hospital that open up first. We're already getting the boy up there situated, moving him around constantly would be more harm than good. Do you need any more type O negative blood?" "I'm that type." Kali offered up after granting her permission to their house. Midori bit her cheek, calling up to Castor who was standing on the staircase's top. "Castor, do we need more transfusions?" The amber-haired man took a deep breath, scratching his small beard. "Don't know sis, but I'd bet on the safe side." "Why?" he inquired. "Lady Belladonna has type O negative. She'd be able to give at least another liter or two." Midori pointed at Kali and watched as Castor began walking down. "Castor." Castor stretched a little bit. "I wish Pollux was here to determine his blood type." "Oh well, we gotta work with what we got. Lady Belladonna, if you follow me, I have 2 empty bags and another bags that we can fill up. Do you have any empty cool areas to store them?" he questioned the lady of the house. Holly nodded her head as she followed him. "I'll show you when we get the blood drawn. If you're able to get his blood type, my husband is B positive." The woman told Castor whilst moving toward a guest room to get her blood drawn. "Be honest, is that boy going to survive?" Vista is concerned over the fractured vertebrate. "No doubt that we'll have to clean and get him started on fluids. It's now a time thing, if he doesn't wake up after 3 days, we'll be looking at getting him into an ICU if they're empty for an MRI. However, Vista is practically a walking one, so I doubt he missed anything." Castor answered while walking over to the bag on the ground, having dropped it on the way in. "Is your daughter home or expected home soon?" "Yes." Kali answered whilst watching as Castor got the transfusion line out. "She has B positive blood if you're wondering." "I was going to ask, but thank you. Just in case, anyway." Castor got a needle and swapped her arm with his off his hand. Big pinch. Kali winces as she allows the needle into her arm. Watching as her blood began to drain out into it. She hissed a little, feeling the itcher drain from her. That's when she heard rapid footsteps and the cry of a girl. "Mom, are you okay?" Blake was standing at the doorway. She was breathing heavily, she must have been sprinting all the way over here. She looked drenched in rain, her brow practically running with water, as if she had come from a shower. Her mother nodded her head in answer to her daughter's question. "I'm fine dear, your father is upstairs and he's fine as well. We had an incident, currently we've got medics here attending to kid upstairs. We'll probably have more people here." The matriarch stated before watching as Castor changed out bags. I used to be a doctor. May I assist you in the care of the others coming? Normally, no Mrs. Belladonna former doctor or not. However, these extenuating circumstances. No doubt Midori has relayed to Vista that we can take wounded here. The kid's lucky, Vista isn't a paramedic, he's actually one of the surgeons from the hospital that was coming to ask permission about other wounded. Castor pulled the needle out, quickly bandaging Kali's arm. What a twist in luck, eh? No kidding. The woman moved her arm about and looked toward her daughter. Blake, sweetheart, are you okay? She ran over to her, hugging, I thought something happened to one of you. We're fine love, we're fine. She patted the girl's head before looking at Castor. When will the first transport be here? Probably an hour. You might want to drink some Aj before getting started. He turned to Blake, pointing at her. What about your daughter? I can help, I want to help. Blake said excitedly whilst looking towards her mother. Please, Mom, let me help. Kali nods her head and smiles softly. Well, if you want to help me, go get as many blankets as you can. Blake gave her a salute before running into the main lobby. Kali looked towards Castor, who was packing stuff into a medical bag. This typhoon surely is full of surprises. It glanced off Kuokuana and hit the smaller villages. Luckily, Chief Gira is doing all that he can and Saber is getting things organized on the ground. You're doing well yourself, young one. Come along now, we've got some preparing to do. Luckily I keep some extra blankets throughout the house. Kali ordered whilst exiting the guest room. Castor following behind her. You look like you have a question. Yeah, I do actually Mrs. Belladonna. How many years were you a doctor? The human man asked whilst walking behind her. I'm new to menagerie. I was one for 10 years. I actually helped build our only hospital on the island. She told him whilst moving swiftly through the halls, counting smaller rooms and imagining how many people it could hold. Are you questioning my competence by chance? No, never, I wouldn't dare. Castor defended himself lightly whilst watching several guards and Saber move about. Something's happening. Saber walked right up to Kali. Giving her curtsy bow, Lady Kali, we've got a security issue. The man escorted her away from Castor, who stood there whilst Midori came running down the stairs. Castor, Castor. She yelled to get his attention, coming just in front of him. You aren't gonna believe this, but that kid was carrying weapons. Damn, really, what is he a Fang member in training? Castor inquired while seeing Midori's face fold just a little bit. She rubbed her arm nervously and then showed him what she managed to get away. The younger Frontis woman always had penchant for theft. I found it in his left back pouch, the other pouches on him had some weapons, weird paper with markings and wire. The girl held the kid's idea out. What do you make of this? What language is this even in? Castor questioned whilst looking at it. Looks like our mystery got a little deeper. Hopefully he wakes up, I'm guessing Saber's on a tirade about securing him now. Yep, he's flipped house. He's got a working theory that the Human First Initiative is sending out kid assassins now. You're new here, but you've heard the stories of that terrorist group trying to kill Gira and Kali. Midori crossed her arms dejectedly. Why is it these bad people always want to stir the pot? I'm not gonna judge you for saying human, I get it. My kind has always treated yours with contempt as respects. The blonde man smiled before bumping her on the shoulder with his fist. When I signed up to be here as a EMT, I did it because I wanted to help people. To me, your people, I don't give a single solitary frig about extra parts. You can cuss around me, I mean I cuss like a sailor off the job. She playfully pointed out, bumping him on the arm back. So, is Lady Belladonna really going to help us? I mean, I've heard stories about her time as a doctor, she was good. I assume so, it'll behoove us to be at our best here. Still though, couldn't imagine the HFI sending a kid, let alone airdropping them. Plus, didn't he look like he had whiskers? Castor remembered the kid's face, seeing the whiskers in his mind's eye. I mean, even if they sent kids, I doubt they'd send a Frontis kid let alone recruit one. The plot thickens. Victoria, removing her hood to reveal curled red locks and a set of wolf-like ears entered on the conversation. She looked at them both and sighed. Saber is throwing a fit to have the boy restrained, we've relented, but that's after I got him an IV going. Speaking of that, more IV bags and fluids will be arriving. You two should be ready to hump it into the house. Right, sure thing ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Victoria flicked both of them in the forehead. Don't call me ma'am, I'm not that old. 3 hours later. Vista was taking a look over at the boy, scanning over him again. Remarkable. He breathed out as he saw the rib, he removed a piece of regrowing steadily. You'd think this kid had an aura, yet, I see no signs of such. Victoria walked into the room, looking at him. Is he going to make it? Too early to tell, but if he keeps healing this, I'm sure he'll pull through. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, depends on what can find out about him in the high time. The brown-haired man sighed before tying his back in a ponytail. Victoria, have they looked up his ID card yet? Some weird ID, not registered in the system, hell the language isn't even registered. Those pieces of paper are being looked at as well. The one pouch had kunai in it, wire, and some shuriken. She told the doctor, watching as he looked at his chart he made for the boy. Is he a faunus? That's my first guess, but we'll have to wait for the hospital to simmer down before we run blood work. Turns out those whisker marks aren't whiskers themselves. They look like birthmarks, which is a very unique set. His canine teeth, his upper ones at least, are longer than most people's. The doctor flipped through his chart. He has blonde yellow hair, azure blue eyes. It looks like this kid has gone through a ringer, that scar on his left pectoral is very fresh. Fresh, as in days old. Yes, but by the way he's healing, I wouldn't doubt it that his scarring will fade with time to be almost unrecognizable. He has a large amount of calluses on his hands and feet, meaning whatever he's doing with life, it's hard labor. He flipped through the notes again, taking a look at the boy whose hands were strapped to the bed's leggings. I find Saber's approach a little abhorrent, but he's got a point. If this kid is indeed an assassin, then he's needing to be restrained in case he wakes up with murder on his mind. Victoria walks over to the boy's bedside. He's a little too cute to be an assassin. I mean, he reminds me of my 13-year-old nephew. She lightly pinches a cheek, noting the squishy feeling. He's got some meat on the bones, so he's eating well. The doctor hummed before seeing the machine they had him hooked up to. I'm concerned about the heart rate being so high now that it's not as weak as before. His heart rate is around 120. His blood pressure is 95/61. Victoria pointed out whilst looking at him. Poor thing is on the edge still, even if he's assassin, I don't think it'd be his fault. Gods knows what the hell kind of organization trains kids to kill. Well, there's huntsman prep schools in the other continents. Vista pointed out whilst taking a deep breath. His soft red eyes scanned over the boy again, seeing that the rib was about halfway regenerated. His healing speed screamed semblance. The redeeded wolf Francis hummed before taking a sip of tea she had in her hand. Tea. Vista took the cup, downing it. Any other severe cuts or injuries? Nothing that Lady Collie can't handle. She dismissed before looking at the guard stationed inside of the room. He almost woke up earlier, what happened there? My guess is that we jolted him enough that it forced his brain to awaken his body temporarily. Very brief as it was clear indicator that he might pull through it. Question is, how high did he fall? Vista came to tap his chin. Even if he had an aura, anything over 600 is playing fast and loose with your life. No kidding, I wonder how Lord Gira is taking the news. Victoria questioned before looking on as Castor came into the room, acknowledging him with a nod of her head. Castor. Victoria, Vista, me and Midori are here for shift in watching over him. Has he did any sort of business? He questioned, knowing that the answer determined how their night was going to go. Nope. Fantastic, we're on poop duty, Midori. He then heard the girl chuckle. What's so funny? We're on duty. She snickered out, making Castor pinch his. Come on, that's funny. Victoria snorts a little bit. Well, I guess that you're going to be scooping poop human. Anyway, don't feel too bad about it. I'm pretty sure that this kid will mortified if he woke up in the middle of you doing that. Please stop. Both girls laughed at Castor's pain. Vista meanwhile looked over their shoulders at the guards. He was the only other human besides him in the room. He knew that the White Fang were watching them completely, not allowing both to be alone with each other inside the Belladonna mansion. Vista knew why, it was a sad reality that didn't trust them. Why should they, when all humanity did for nearly 300 years was beat them into the ground until just a shade under a century ago. Time took time to mend wounds, it never meant to heal it completely, but scarring sometimes hurt. Vista took a moment to stretch before walking out of the room. He saw Gira standing there, the man who had personally invited him to Menagerie to share his expertise in surgery with the residents. At least give them a leg up in medical practices. Vista. He greeted him with a nod. What's the word on our little interloper? He's healing rapidly, possibly a semblance, weird thing is I don't detect an aura. I mean, he's got a soul, that's much is for sure. It's not some super mutant weird grim situation. The younger man took a moment to look at Saber. I do find it quite unfortunate that a child must be restrained. Restraints aren't out of the question if the boy is an assassin. Still, this is a little too weird. Saber interjected between them. I mean, with his gear, this kid is either an assassin or playing ninja. Gira took a deep breath and sighed. I'll hopefully get answers when he wakes up. However, I'm not about to start executing kids. He then heard a small clap coming from behind him. Sienna. Hello, chieftain, am I coming here at a bad time? Sienna questioned, her robes clinging to her. Her ears adorned with jewelry. Her eyes glowed with prideful, and her black hair was a slice of midnight itself. She had tiger-like ears adorning her head, with her robes being red and gold in color. She had her weapon at her side, that chain whip of hers. Besides her was Adam Taurus, the boy Blake was smitten with, even if she wouldn't openly admit to her family. Never a bad time for one of my people in my house. He motioned for her to follow him. What is it that you want, Sienna? I've been made aware that an incident occurred. Some whispers of an assassin. She scoffed at him and then looked into the room just before the door closed. Is it true that I'm hearing the A-word being thrown around truthfully? We don't know at this point. Gira admitted before crossing his arms. No sense in fanning flames that may not even be embers at this point. Still, she crosses her own arms. When he wakes up I want the White Fang to take custody. Sienna. No, Gira, if humanity wants to start playing dirty, so will we. She interrupted him whilst placing a hand on his shoulder. Old friend, your family could be in danger, think of your wife and daughter, what if he landed successfully? He took a moment to think about that. If this kid had been an assassin and he'd landed right on top of Kali, she wouldn't have had a ghost of chance, his attack would have been too sudden. He'd lost his beautiful bellflower in an instant, and since the guards weren't around the house like normal, he'd been the next likely target, followed by his only daughter. It burned him, but he nods his head. I get to question him first. He told her before removing her off his shoulder. If I don't like what I hear, I'll regretfully and begrudgingly turn him over to you. Sienna, I know about the clandestine things you do, but I'm begging you to not harm a child out of hatred. If the child is Franus, he'll get re-educated. She pointed out, trying to offer up something. What if he's not? Then I guess it'll be what it'll be, it'll depend on his cooperation with us. Who knows, this might be goldmine of information, after there is rumors that Shock himself is tied to HFI. She then took a moment and looked at the fury burning behind Gira's eyes. However, as you said, this is still a child, human or not. I'm glad we have an understanding. Gira looked over her shoulder toward Blake, who was sneaking away with Adam. Your adoptive son is getting a little close to my daughter. White Sienna snickered whilst looking at him. Is something wrong? Sienna, normally my instincts can be skewed. However, you mind that boy. Something about him, it just seems a little off. He warned, watching as her neutral face turned into a scowl. What? You do know, Adam told me she wanted to join up at the sign on age of 13. What are going to do, prevent her? Sienna questioned whilst crossing her arms. It's every son and daughter's choice in menagerie to join with a guard and her White Fang at 13. We're supposed to mimic the hunter schools in that regard. He sighed, rolling his eyes before seeing Kali walk toward him. His beautiful wife to rescue from what would have been an inevitable trainwreck of a conversation. Sienna sneered before walking away, and Gira noted how some of the guards around his house followed her out. Not escorting her, but following. He'd have to address that with Saber when they got the chance. Perhaps handpicking a guard over the boy, just in case he were to suddenly take a turn for the worse. However, begrudgingly, she had been right about the what if. If that boy had been his wife would have been dead. In the inner mind non-existent. The last thing he felt was palm trees smacking into him. Did they smack into him, or did he smack into them? It didn't much matter, what mattered though was that he remembered seeing storm clouds. Not below them either, so he had to been very high up when he fell from wherever the hell the rift spat him out at. It was small port city, the next thing he had seen, when he breached the clouds. Somehow, somewhere along the line, he got lucky that lightning didn't tear him apart. If Sasuke's Chidori had temporarily knocked even him out of the fight, he figured that a natural spear from the gods themselves would just about do him in. Naruto took stock of the situation, something he rarely did unless it was dire. Indeed, these were very dire times for our blonde hero. He laid sprawled in the sewers of his mind, just in front of the gate where the Nine Tails rested. Oh, and he could tell that his body was all sorts of messed up at the moment. Normally in this realm, Naruto didn't feel physical pain. However, today was a keen exception. His body didn't hurt, his body was broken. Naruto had broken bones before, heck, he even broke his leg one time after failing to hold onto the monument back home during one of his little escapades. Still, Naruto would have rather take another Chidori to the chest than feel what he was feeling right now. His arms were numb, but felt like hot needles were going through them. He couldn't move them, and he couldn't even move his legs if he tried. So, they're broken, might as well be a limp bird on the ground. No wings, no tail feather, zip nada. He was in the situation that most men and women feared. No way to run, no way to fight, only the saving graces of mercy could help him. From his experience in life, even though it was a short life, mercy was very rare commodity. Heck, he went against his own programming all the time as a kid. He was trained to kill not spare, but he did so, ironic that his physical body outside of this realm probably laid in some ditch. People wondering how the hell did he get there, and he couldn't blame them. Because Naruto Uzumaki himself had no idea. Best case scenario, the port was connected to Sunagakur and Gara might be changed enough to help him. In which case, bonus, he got a free vacation in Suna until Grammet Swan got off her butt to get him out. Mid-case, he was in some sort of large village that had a port and they were wondering why a shinobi fell from the sky. Worst case scenario, he landed in a cannibal village and they were particularly peckish today. Now, by and large a myth, Naruto didn't put past the world to screw him over that hard. He had no family, very few friends, and a demon fox in his gut. Luck was very subjective, and luck with just gambling was just primer for an addiction later on down the road. If good old pervy sage was any indication, at the very least, Naruto was going to have a good time at least. Minus the fact that he had the 9 tails pretty primed and ready to screw any type of relationship. Now one must be wondering, why was he thinking like this? Welp, you're broken and can't move, and you're inside of subconscious trying your damn best to ignore the physical pain radiating into your literal soul. At this point, if imagining Kakashi and Guy naked together got him out of the situation of feeling whatever the hell a few thousand-foot drop did to him, he was game. I rather not, that is disgusting. There he was, those big crimson were narrowed down at Naruto, and his uncaring gaze fell upon him. Behold 9-tailed fox. Its body was massive, one of its claws was bigger than Naruto himself, and all the blonde could muster up at the moment was a minor sneer in his direction. You try falling from whatever hell we were. He turned his head toward the monster. I'm surprised we're alive at this point. The 9-tailed fox scoffs at him, sneering himself before leaning his back. Boo-hoo, cry me a river. It replied with malice and frustration. Aren't you just a ball of sunshine, furball? Naruto commented gruffly before leaning back into the waters. So, are you gonna heal me or? What do you think I've been doing for the last 3 days? The 9 tails answered with a huff whilst glaring down at the boy. Just because you're my jailer doesn't mean you own me. Nor would I ever wanna own you, I wouldn't want to own anyone. Can we just be nice with one another? This last 3 days has been kind of pain-filled with a side of ow. The blue-eyed shinobi just rolled his eyes. What am I getting on about, you don't have a nice bone in your body. The 9 tails took a deep breath and sighs. I am the sum of what you humans wanted me to become. I am nothing more, nothing less than what you've all made me. Hate to break it to you, but niceness isn't a strong human trait. It stated matter-of-factly before growling softly whilst adjusting itself. Someone's gotta be taking care of us if we've been here 3 days, well if I've been out for 3 days. Naruto held up his finger before snapping them. Heh, maybe Gaara found us, or we landed next to him. I kind of wanted to see the look of surprise on his face, you know. Foolish brat, we are not in Suna. If anything, I don't know where we're at and I've been everywhere in the world. This land doesn't feel anything remotely close to the great nations, let alone any of its subsidiaries. The 9 tails growled before looking at Naruto, whose face was scrounged up. What is a subsidiary whatever that word was at the end? Naruto yelled out, frustrated at his lack of vocabulary knowledge at the moment. Better yet, what do you mean we're not in Suna? I saw palm trees on the way down, you know. We are not on our world anymore, whatever it is that you got us into, it's cost us dearly. The 9 tails roared out before it took a deep breath, calming itself down. Does it feel good, knowing that you gave all of what you wanted away, for someone who probably will never even remember you? Naruto laid there listening to that, and sighs. I think you're wrong, 9 tails. I heard him screaming out for me when we fell into that hole, speaking of that, how did that even happen? He questioned the fox, hoping he'd have the answer. The 9 tails sighs deeply before moving one giant claw up to pinch his nose. Of all of my jailers, why are you by far the most poignant? He openly questioned the fates before hearing him protest. Hey. He weakly raised a fist up, failing to register the miraculous action. Screw you, you know. I never had someone at home to teach me complicated words. Your disappointment as a jailer is immensely understated, I cannot find the correct term. You're obviously just going to die alone in this world, whatever this world is. The 9 tails scowled at him and then smirked evilly. Perhaps you should just give me control, at least I can do something here. Not a chance in whatever hell there is, that's ever gonna happen. Naruto defiantly yelled back, scrunching his face up in disgust. You're not getting your way, even we are stuck supposedly on another world. Why must you insist on just defying me? You're a Jinchuriki, a vessel, my vessel. You're nothing but a mere tool, an object for use, and that's all you ever will be. You are nothing but my jail cell, my prison, so pardon me if I seek escape. You pathetic humans are always seeking meaning from each other, acceptance from one another. His fist collided against the cage, growling at the blonde shinobi. The day you were born was the worst day in my existence. What choice did I ever have? Excuse me? Naruto growls as he glowered up at the beast, the most powerful of the Biju. He growled deeper, finally he allowed his anger to win out. I said what choice did I ever have? Should have died in your mother's womb. The fox mocked him, looking him with nothing but pure hatred now. You just live to fall. All Jinchuriki fail, eventually that seal breaks, and then you're replaced. Guess they never told you that, Lord Hokage. Says the fox I heard cowering when we almost died to Kabuto, I heard you shuddering. You're afraid to fade away, I'm not. You wanna know what the difference between me and you is, furball. You're so afraid of death that you were panicking. I wasn't, I accepted it because I knew somehow, I'll be freed from you. Naruto screamed at him, tears pouring out his eyes. You say you're my prisoner, I'm your prisoner. Oh please. Shut your damn mouth, this is my body and my soul you are in. You wanna know what my life was like with you thus far? It's a living nightmare. No orphanage kept me once I hit 4, the old man had to get me an apartment. You wanna know what it's like walking into an empty house every day, while street doors down you hear families celebrating birthday parties. You feel empty, you feel non-existent. The blonde roared out at the end, gripping his fists inside of the water. The blonde took a deep breath and continues. Wanna know what it was like to know that you were inside of me? How much things made more sense that I had to ignore for the sake of my sanity. How people look at me as if I killed their families because in a way I did, they don't get closure because they can't. Naruto looked the fox directly into the eyes. At what point, if any, do you ever consider someone other than yourself? It chuckled at him, his toothy smirk filling the void inside of the cage. All humans are beneath me, why would I ever consider their feelings? You have a duty to me, brat. You were chosen by the 4th Hokage to bear me. If anyone is to blame for your predicament, it's your hero. I'm just doing what I normally do, what I was created to do. The fox jabbed at Naruto, refusing to acknowledge the pain he gives to the boy. You were such an asshole to me, and for what reason, you bastard? The boy roars out before flicking him off, fire in his eyes as he screams out at him. Screw you too, you selfish monster. Like I had a choice. Hell, with that breeding attitude he should have just shoved in Sasuke. You two would get off swimmingly, bastard. You're a giant overgrown chicken-eating, red-furred, red-eyed, son of bitch. The Nine Tails looked right at Naruto, taken slightly aback about being cursed out. The set of bronzes on this kid must truly be legendary for him to talk to him like that. Then again, it was slightly entertaining to him and his devilish smirk filled the cell. Both glared at each other. So Naruto moved his head to beckon him to talk. What's with the creepy smile? My former Jinchuriki never had the gall to curse me. The fox chuckled under his breath before glaring right into the boy's soul. Yet, I see something in you, some sort of kinship. Unbeknownst to the child, a second copy of himself formed behind it. It was transparent, but an almost exact copy. Instead of the blue eyes though, his were crimson red. His hair was red in color as well, but the main difference besides the eye and hair was the sclera being pure midnight black. Where the original shined, he hid behind in his shadow. Always watching, always waiting, and always there. Whoa, back the heck up a second. The Nine Tails glared at Naruto, the copy dissipating with a smirk on his face. What the hell are you implying? I am nothing like you. The fox laughed with hearty chortle and then slammed his hand into the cage. The shift was immediate, the air becoming ice cold as it breathed right into Naruto's face from just beyond the gate. It made sure to make eye contact with him, letting him know that he looked down on him just like everyone else did. My entire existence has been seeing your kind slaughter each other in troves. For mundane things, for false religious beliefs, and even over a woman. Imagine, seeing these furless monkeys get a gift reserved for gods and use it to just slaughter themselves an entirely new way. The fox paced in front of the cage, back and forth, anger in his voice. My brothers and sister, the others had faith in you all until you betrayed them. Betrayed aren't the other Biju just as evil as you are? Naruto questioned, finding more of his body being able to move. The Nine Tails snarls at him, my kin were foolish. I felt and saw your hatred. It slammed itself against the cage again, futile as it was, each rattle chilled Naruto to the bone. Still, there was a time that I tried to help you pathetic worms, now look what I reaped from what I sowed. But the hiss, Naruto felt something, was it hurt? No, it was something closer to regret. He felt regret for what he said earlier, and he took a deep breath. I'm sorry, really, no one should ever have to see that happen, not in a lifetime let alone hundreds. He apologized. But Growl the beast questions him, what did you just say? I said I'm sorry, really. If you are in pain. Slam. I am not in pain, no, I am never in pain. I'm beyond that point, now I look at you furless monies as a means of hatred. You, and the rest of your species are just squishy and weak. How does it feel, I wonder, to be so weak? The fox interrupted him before going into a tirade, growling through each word. Choke on your pity, I don't need nor want it. Maybe I'm not like my people. Naruto adjusted himself, slowly sitting up as he felt more bones popping. Perhaps, I'm different because that's all I was treated as. He glares at him, then throws his massive head back in laughter. Finishing with a harsh snort, the fox looked right into the blonde's eyes. Watching as the shadowy copy manifest under the water behind him. It chuckled and slowly moved its head toward the edge of the seal. "Please, do you honestly believe that?" It sneered before glowering over him. "All you do is seek power, you're no different from any man that has come before or will after. If it means that I can protect those I care about, then I will get as strong as I can possibly be." Naruto shot back, surprising the fox as he slowly stood up. "If it means that in the end that I'm coming to you, then I'm doing it because I have to, not that I want to. DCH, why did you ever want to be Hokage? You realize that was a pipe dream, right?" The fox mocked him before laughing. The fox boy, becoming a leader. Please, even those people had a point on that. You were a tool, a means to an end, no matter what you've done. Even if some people supported you, you would have never sat on that seat because you are a weapon, nothing more. Slowly, looking away dejectedly, the blonde began to move away only for him to stop. Sighing to himself, he turned to the demon fox. "I actually never really wanted the seat for the job, I just wanted the seat so I can prove everyone wrong," he said lowly before placing a thumb over his chest. "I don't want to be Naruto Uzumaki Jinchuriki. I don't want to be just a great shinobi. I wanted to be the best so that way I could look at all the people who doubted me and show them." He took a deep breath and then glared right at the demon in front of him. "I swore on my life that I'd never give up and never back down. No matter what, I am going to stand tall. No one else will ever change that part of me." He points right at the fox and declares to him, "I never go back on my word, you know. Because I'll never run away, I'll never hide." Naruto pounded his chest and then yelled out toward the demon. "I'll never bend or break from anything or for anyone. Especially not you, someone who can't see past themself. You little brat." The fox sternly growled before pressing his head against the cage. "This isn't our world anymore, when you wake up, you'll be in whole other world. Then I say bring it on." Naruto smirked with confidence and then met his eyes. "Because, if I have a job to hold you, then I'll carry out my duty to completion. Because as I said, I never back down, nor run away." Chapter 3. Waking up. Continuing on his power. Guokuana. Belladonna Estate 6:34 p.m. Vista took glances every now and then at Victoria. They've been switching out with Castor and Midori for the last 4 days. The Wolfronus was looking at the boy's vitals. Still under guard, the boy was hidden away from the rest of the population. The typhoon had come and went, like all storms did upon Menagerie. It left the farms well satiated from their drought, but casualties had been severe to say the least. Some people will never be able to work again. Which hampered the growth of the country at large. This island continent needed almost everyone to be able-bodied. If not for the development, but also for protection against the large hordes that occasionally wandered eastward from the barren wastes. Any changes? Victoria's question made Dr. Vista take a moment to think. There has been some changes, mostly due to the fact the boy's right arm wasn't broken anymore. Such an injury should have, the very least, taken weeks to heal. He was almost certain that this kid had a semblance, and thusly, had an aura. Each time he tried to scan for it, the scan always came up with the same error. Unknown energy signature detected. Dr. Vista took a deep breath and sighs. "No, Victoria, no changes as of yet. Mrs. Belladonna keeps insisting to visit him, but Guard Captain Saber has forbidden everyone but us." Gira backed him. The good doctor went through his notes, seeing the nearly nude kid in the bed. Castor and Midori had taken to stripping him into a gown the first night on watch. After all, they ended up being the first ones on duty and thusly had to clean him up. From the gathered waste, Dr. Vista performed some stool sample tests. Everything came back clean. His blood came back rather interesting. The man paced around the room whilst reading the file. So far, he was the only one to know of this anomaly besides the lab techs. They chalked it up to an equipment error, had to be. Because if it wasn't, then this boy wasn't normal by any stretch of the means. He looked at the report. His blood type is B positive. Has a high amount of blood in him compared to other people. However, this isn't what bothers me. The race by blood test or RBB came up unknown. Vista examined the report and then looked at the boy. Came back for markers of baseline humanity. Around 90% match, but then there is the 1% Fronus marker and then the rest is an unknown. Victoria watches closed the file. Noting that he was deep in thought when there was sudden twitch on the bed. The boy's right hand twitched first, followed by his left shoulder. Suddenly, he sprung up, nearly dislocating his shoulder as he tried to take in a very deep breath of air. He coughed against a tube in his mouth, forcing guards to hold him down as Vista and Victoria went to work. They held him steady, pulling the tube from his throat. The boy vomited, as was to be expected, but without any food the vomit was only clear acid. It splashed on one of the guards, much to his chagrin. Coughing violently, the boy clutched at his throat, feeling the tenderness of where the tube had rested. Geez, this sucks. He sputters before lurching forward against the side of the bed to vomit again. No more please, no more. Victoria felt for the kid, she understood that awakening in such a manner must have both sent him into a panic attack, whilst also the feeling of choking being modified by the need to vomit. The woman watched as the blonde kid's azure eyes observed his surroundings. He blinked once, twice, and then thrice as a pregnant pause prevailed throughout the room. Alright, I knew it, take that you dumb furball. He suddenly declared mentally, only finding silence. We are in the land of wind. I can feel the heat from outside. Tell Captain Saber that the prisoner is awake. A guard said to another. The blonde blinked once, twice, and then looked at him. That's weird armor for Suna Shinobi, you know. He says whilst feeling his head swim a little bit. Suna Shinobi? Vista questioned aloud before looking at the still black and blue legs of the boy. His legs are still broken, but they're healing rapidly as well. I can guesstimate at least 2 weeks. Boy, why is eyes glowing like that? Is that a Kekkei Genkai? The kid pointed out toward Vista's glowing violet eyes, watching as they shined with shimmering power. That's kind of cool, what does it do? Well, young man, I'm currently viewing your skeletal structure. As for the other thing you said, that kinky gentile, whatever. It's not that. The doctor answered the boy before watching try to move his hip. Easy son, your legs are still broke. The boy looks down on the bed before his eyes widened. Holy crap, they're mangled. What the hell happened? Victoria stood there, surprised that boy wasn't in agony despite the injuries. You fell right on top of Lady Belladonna's gazebo. How did you get up in the air? Did you take a transport? Or the guard started questioning him only to see the blank stare. What? You have frog hands. The blonde said whilst looking into the man's orange eyes. They're kind of cool too, you know. Are you mocking me, boy? He suddenly got defensive, raising his hands up. What? No. I'm not mocking you. This is just weird. Are we in the land of wind, or is this kind of like in the land of mist? He questioned hastily whilst looking around, and then his eyes fell on Victoria. She waved at him casually, smiling, before greeting him a sing-song voice. Hello. Eh? He screeched whilst pointing his finger at her. She's got other ears, they're kind of cute. Wait, I said that out loud, I'm sorry. Gah, where am I? Why do you have animal parts on you, did you? I think hit his head a little too hard. Dr. Vista heard the guard breathed out in frustration. The man snapped his fingers. Hey, listen will ya? The kid immediately stopped being rambunctious about his observations and solely focused onto the good doctor. You're not in whatever you were saying. We are in menagerie, specifically, Kuokuana. Kuokuana? The blonde blinked before resounding it out. Kuokuana, what? That's a weird name for a village. Village? The guard spat in offense before glaring at him. Kuokuana is the capital of our country, brat. Aren't you not Franus? Where is your pride? Funhouse. I'm not a funhouse. Everyone wanted to face plant themselves with that comment. Victoria sat on the bed next to him, she decided the boys were done torturing the kid. She reaches over, gently placing her hand on his before giving him a knowing and soft smile. Child, what is your name? She beckoned whilst looking into his azure eyes, seeing if he would be deceitful at all with his name. Don't worry, we'll be just asking around. Well, my name is Naruto. Naruto Uzumaki. Naruto reaches behind, realizing that he wasn't wearing his normal clothes finally. Hey, where's my pouches at? You mean the weapons of your trade? The guard got his attention before crossing his arms. Haven't you noticed that you're strapped to the bed for a reason? Naruto looked at his wrists, finally noting the cuffs on them and the chains leading under the bed. Wait a minute, what the heck, why am I cuffed here? He declared whilst struggling on them lightly, noting that the steel was tough. Well, that's the thing, boy. The guard glared right into him. How did you get up into the air just conveniently right above Lady Belladonna? Lady who what's with the weird names around here? Are you Saber or something? No, wait a minute, you sent someone looking for that person. Naruto rubs his chin whilst looking at the woman. What's your name? Victoria. See, that's a weird name too. The kid declared whilst looking over towards the doctor. Doctor Vista. I give up. Naruto couldn't even grab at his head in frustration. Okay, seriously, these are getting on my last nerves, you know. Just answer the damn questie. The guard didn't get to finish as Naruto snapped the chains with a hard jerk. The woman got up off the bed, backing away with Vista as the guard drew his sword. Naruto glowered at him before grumbling at the fact he couldn't move his legs. The guard screamed at him, yelling right into his face almost. Get your hands behind your back. You know what, no, how about no? I'm outta here, screw this. Naruto declared before crossing the index and middle fingers on both of his hands. Shadow Clone Jutsu. Several pops of smoke flooded the room as similar dressed teens all laid on the floor unable to move. Naruto sat there, hearing them groan in agony before popping. His face was flushed red, and then he remembered one keen detail about shadow clones. They usually mimic the state of the user, and with his legs broke. Oh, damn it, I knew it, why did even I try that? Naruto knocked himself across the head several times. Ah, you know what, next plan. Transform. The guard was about to raise his sword up and strike. Only when the smoke cleared, him and Vista both stood stark white as suddenly a nude girl sat on the bed. She was covered by smoke clouds over her private areas, but the guard's eyes popped out of his sockets. Blood ran down his nose before the boy-air girl put her hand on her lip whilst shaking her chest in the clouds a little. Can you help me, please? Ah. Both Vista and guard fell back from the surprise of it all, comical amounts of blood gushing from their noses. Victoria took a moment to look at them both. You both are perverts, geez, it's still the kid. She walked over to the kid before hearing a pop followed by smoke filling the room. Her wolf ears picked up a thump on the floor when she took her eyes off him for a second. What are you doing? Getting the hell out of here. Naruto declared whilst crawling with his hands rapidly on the floor. Out of my way, or I'll bite your ankles. The guard recovered, going to grab the blonde idiot before suddenly feeling his teeth sunk into his ankle. He wasn't joking. He wasn't joking. Ow ow ow, fuck, he's sinking his teeth in. The toad frontis grabbed at his hair whilst hobbling around on one foot. Let go you little bastard. Screw myam. Naruto yelled back through locked whilst hanging on with his teeth. Victoria grabbed at his shoulders, hoisting back onto the bed. You. Stay. Now. She commanded him whilst placing a palm on his chest, and suddenly he felt much heavier. She turned the guard and glared at him. You quit antagonizing him, fuck. She was breathing hard as she looked around and noted that Naruto was struggling to get up. The guard was nursing his right ankle, where teeth marks appeared blistering red. He was whimpering a little bit under Victoria's gaze when the door busts open, revealing Saber as he slammed it shut. Alright, what the hell happened? I hear yelling and screaming on my way up here. Saber screamed whilst he looked at his guard. Cloud, what happened? Little bastard bit me in the ankle, he's trying to escape. The guard, Cloud, stated whilst pointing at Naruto accusingly. The blonde returned the pointing. Well, you can stop being a jerk, you know. I just woke up and I woke chained to a bed like out one of Pervy Sage's books. Wait, you all didn't know? Naruto's skin shivers whilst he held himself a little and turned pale white. You sick bastard. What? No, we didn't do that to you. Good lords kid, what is wrong with that head of yours? Vista screamed out and interrupted him whilst getting up and then saw the blonde cross his arms. He petulantly faced away, much like a child. Hey, I'm talking to you. The blonde stuck out his tongue at them. Naya, I'm talking to you. He parroted mockingly at the doctor. Enough. The guard captain pointed his sword at the boy, making him back up a little bit. What is your name, why are you here inside of Menagerie, and why were you trying to land at the Belladonna estate? Naruto's right twitches before cocking his head to the side. I thought this place was called Kuo-Kuana Kuo. Kuo-Kuana. Victoria interjected for him, trying to keep from Saber from losing his mind. Yeah, that place, I mean this place, God, you know what I mean, you know. Naruto blinked when the sword moved. Okay, look, can you get the sword out of my face, or I'm going to bite your ankles too. You little bastard, if you come near me with those teeth, I'll smack the shit out of you. Saber warned him with his free hands back drawn. Now answer my damn questions, who are you, why are you here, and why did you land Belladonna estate? Well, first off, my name's Naruto Uzumaki. Second off, I don't even know how I got here. 1 minute I'm fighting my emo best friend and we open a rift, and the next I'm just here. Wait, he grabbed his head a little bit. I remember falling above some storm clouds. Okay, he has to be lying. Victoria submitted before backing away. Because you would be dead if that was the case. Also, rift, what are you talking about? How should I know? I just know that I fell into this hole like Thingy, and next thing I know I see this place as I am falling down. I mean, well, he shook his head before trying move past the sword a little bit which followed him. I didn't know I landed in someone's house. Technically, you landed in the garden. A large burly man made his way into the room, making the one known as Saber back away and sheath his sword. Saber, take a walk outside, please. But chief. Please do as I order you to do. The guard captain looked deflated at his boss's words. I'll be fine, besides, he's a small little kid with 2 broken legs. Just watch your ankles around him, Chief Gira. Little bastard has got a bite. Cloud stated whilst exiting the room. Saber. Only to hear clacking from teeth as Naruto shot him a defiant smirk. Oi, you little boss. Gira shuts the door in Cloud's face whilst leaning on it. He looked down at the boy laying on the guest bed. He looked towards Vista and Victoria. The blonde felt the tension in the air lessen just a little bit before he leaned back onto the headboard. Taking a deep breath, he sighed. Calm down, good. Now, I have some questions. My wife found you, you were on the edge of the death and she kept you from going over that edge. Why did you have weapons on you and why were you falling from the sky? Gira watched as Victoria was about to answer but held his hand up to stop her. Be very detailed, young one. Okay, Naruto breathed before taking a moment. I was fighting my best friend who was trying to betray our village. It was a fight from like those in storybooks. We're both shinobi and so our fight got out of hand quickly. Next thing I know, we're ripping a whole rift. I got him out before I fell into it. Naruto took a deep breath before rubbing his arm. Now I'm here and I'm figuring I'm in some small country away from the other nations. Nations? The large frontis man took a deep breath. You mean like Vacuo, Vale, Atlas, and Mistral, right? No. Naruto breathed before his eyes widened and he felt the world weighing on his chest. No, I mean like Konoha and the land of fire, Suna and the land of wind. I'll even settle for Kiri and the land of mists at this point. None of those places are even remotely on the map, kid. If you're making up a cover story for a failed operation, you're horrible at it. The man stated before taking a seat on a nearby chair. What's your name? Okay, my name is Naruto Uzumaki. I'm a shinobi from Konoha. It's one country amongst many. I can draw a map. Naruto snaps his fingers in realization. Yeah, I can draw a map and you'd see I am not lying. The man took a deep breath, looking at the blonde shinobi. Listen, kid, if you were dumped out of an aircraft, we can use your help tracking the sorry bastards that did it. Gira watched the blonde's eyes well up slightly. Aircraft? What, those? Or just his hand came up to his head. Oh man, Sasuke, what did you get me into? Sasuke? Vista questioned before observing Naruto's hair trait, noting that it was majorly elevated. Is he the friend you were talking about? Why yeah, ooh my head. Naruto brought his other hand up, biting his lip to the point it bled. Damn it all, Sasuke, when I see you again, I'm deck you across the face hard. Victoria grabbed the boy's hands, softly rubbing them. Easy, you might just been shock or suffering some memory loss, Naruto. She cooed him before allowing to have his hands back. Stop biting lip like that, you gonna hurt yourself really bad. The blonde nods his head, releasing his teeth off the tender flesh of his lip. It hissed and popped as steam rose off it. Everyone watched as it fully healed within seconds. Gira frowned when he didn't see aura come over the blonde, whatever he was using, it was something else. Finally, he got out a map from nearby dresser. He unfurled it, a map of Remnant, and he walked over to the kid. He held out and placed it on his lap. Okay, listen, you need to tell me where you're from on this map. Gira stated whilst looking the blonde in his azure eyes. I can't protect you if you're not willing to help me. Protect me? I'm a shinobi, you know. I don't need protecting. Naruto argues back whilst crossing his arms but still peeking at the map. What is that? Is that map of Menagaka Menagerie the word that other guy used? Menagerie? And no, this is a world map. Gira told him before pointing toward Menagerie on the bottom of the map. This is where we are, where are you from? So do you think I was lying to you earlier? Brat. Naruto felt his heart sink before taking a deep shuddering breath. I want to be alone, please. He mumbled lowly before closing his eyes. Can I get something to eat? I know I've. Okay. Gira interrupted him whilst he looked at Vista. Is he good to eat food? He should be, but mostly soups. Vista looked at the boy's legs, scanning over them. Your legs remarkably healing fast, but you're not walking for a while. Geez, Naruto grumbles lowly before taking a deep breath. What a shocker, I fell from the clouds. Gira and the doctor, along with the medic, moved out into the hallway. Saber stood there, arms crossed and brow furrowed as Gira took a deep breath. The large man had left the map in the room because he wanted to give the boy time to get his story straight because Sienna no doubt would know within the hour of his awakening. Well, what all did he say? Is he an assassin? Saber inquired. No. Gira shook his head before noting the black hair of his daughter peeking from a hallway corner. Blake, why are you listening in on our conversation? I wasn't trying to, Mom told me to find you, I'm sorry. Blake apologized before gripping her hands. Is it true, what I've been hearing, that someone sent an assassin here? No, it's not. He dispelled immediately before taking a deep breath. Don't go into that room under any circumstances, though we got someone in there who's heavily injured. Well, me and Adam can take that person to the hose. I said, stay out of the room, dear daughter. We don't know why this person is here as of yet, so he's a risk. You do well to keep it in this hall that I said that. Gira walked over toward her, placing a hand on her shoulder. Can you please go tell your mother that famous soup she makes you when you're sick is needed? Blake bit her lip before biting her cheek a little. Dad, Mom's been running herself ragged, maybe I can. Very well. He smiled slightly before patting her head. I love you, do good, don't slip anything into it. I wasn't gonna. Blake. Okay, fine, I'm just worried about mom. What if that person in there tried to kill her and they blundered it so badly they got hurt? Blake racked her brain openly, making Saber slightly chuckle. I mean the humans. The humans had nothing to do with this, mind how you say that. Lest you forget that Castor and Vista here have been here for days treating our people different than they would treat theirs. Gira corrected her immediately before nodding his head. Please get to your task, my lovely bellflower. Yes dad, I'm sorry. She apologized before walking away. Still though, she brings up a good point. This kid in there did something and it wasn't normal. I have no doubt that his healing is natural, it's functioning too well to not be. However, he cloned himself and then proceeded to transform into a girl. Vista lightly trailed out on that one, slightly blushing. Then somehow ignored the pain enough to bite poor Cloud's ankle over there. Little guy was like a chihuahua on drugs. Victoria frowns at that, taking a deep breath. Obviously something different about him, that's for sure. Maybe, let's try with Midori. She suggested before smiling lightly. His name is very old Mistralian, Naruto. I recognize that name because of a ramen topping, Narutomaki. Narutomaki. Saber sounded out before rubbing his chin. Doesn't Mistral have a whirlpool known as the Naruto Whirlpool? Oh, yeah, it's right off the coast of the southern town of Kahana. Vista remembered whilst tapping his right hand into his open left palm. Maybe he's Mistralian and his family has chosen like some others to ignore the color naming ruling of the last king. Now we're starting to get somewhere. Gira breathed in a sigh of relief. Old Mistralian is not widely used anymore, except for some circles and the spider gang. Well shit, Victoria cursed whilst rubbing her home. So, it's possible he's still an assassin, just a criminal one. But a kid? Saber questioned, crossing his arms. Even if he has a very weird semblance, he's a boy. Who sends a boy to kill a heavily guarded family? Not unless you want him to infiltrate first. Vista points whilst looking toward Cloud. Cloud. The toad Franus just grumbles under his breath. I'm gonna kick the shit out of him if goes to bite me again. Naruto sat on the bed, his legs broken and unable to move. He looked at the map recognizing some words on it. The young teen took a deep breath before feeling something slip down his face. It was hot, wet and salty when it met his lips. Don't you dare cry, Naruto. He told himself before gripping the bedsheets. You did what you had to do, you saved your friend. That is all that matters in the end, you won, you succeeded. Keep telling yourself. Brat, it doesn't make the pain better if you justify it. Will you shut up and leave me alone? DCH, I wasn't lying to you earlier, we aren't in our world no more. Frankly, I find it disturbing I don't remember everything. Still, what does it matter? What does it truly matter? The nine-tailed fox questioned within his head, making bit his lip again. You won't be going anywhere for at least 3 weeks, your spinal column is also fractured. Maybe they'll kill me. Naruto grimly thought before struggling to the side of the bed. They could have at least put my picture in here. Haha, whatever, brat. I'll see you in a month. The mental link was cut when the nine tails made sure to leave him on the note of loneliness. It swallowed him, all those years of gaining precious people, and now they were all gone. Despite what he told himself while unconscious, now that he fully feel his body and his feelings at large, Naruto knew for the first time in his life that he was truly alone. There was Iruka, no Jiraiya, no old man Hokage, not even the Anbu he'd spot watching him out of his window on occasion. They were all gone and it was because of Sasuke's selfishness. Naruto could have clutched onto him and both would have fell. Then again, he could have twisted and threw Sasuke in the damn rift. Duck-haired bastard, if I find a way home, I'm getting to beat you into pulp, you hear me? Naruto mentally roared as his eyes became flame-like. Only though, he looked back at the map. Okay, somehow I can understand this isn't in kanji so. He traced his fingers over the southernmost continent where he supposedly was now. Menagerie, okay, I think I got that down. He spoke aloud to himself before looking at the star on the continent where Kuokuana was. Kuokaiana no Kuokaiama, damn it. Slowly, gathering himself, the blonde looked at his IV line. Grumbling at the haziness in his head, he saw where there was something under the IV bag. It was probably pain medication, given that he wasn't feeling any intense pain in his legs, just dull thumping. Getting onto his side, the blonde shinobi looked at himself in a vanity mirror. Well, now what, Naruto? 2 hours later. Blake Belladonna was not exactly so happy. She was cooking a meal for someone who might have been trying to kill her mother and father. She was half tempted to throw rat poison into it. What could her father possibly do about it? The way they were talking, it was just some human assassin anyway. She mixed the vegetables diligently, with herbs going afterwards, making sure the vegetables were cut very thin as melt into the oiled broth. Be making dinner this time, dear. Kali greeted her daughter whilst coming into the kitchen. The last few patients from the typhoon are leaving the house. I've been going crazy with the laundry, but Miss Victoria has been such a help about it. No mom, I'm not making dinner, Dad has me cooking for someone, she whispered under her breath, biting back the angry feeling inside of her chest. Holly frowns at that voice, and she walks over to her daughter. Listen, Blake. She didn't get finished when her daughter rounded on her. Why are we serving a human in our home that tried to kill you? She questioned her mother, fury in her stomach and anger in her chest. Blake, he didn't try to kill me, he fell right into the garden, the tile on the ground is broken because of it. He's lucky to be alive. She moved her hands to her daughter's shoulders. Listen, my baby girl, it's not what you think. I don't think he meant me any harm. I doubt he even controlled his fall. But what if? What if Jacques Schnee, the HFI, humans who hate Francis, or political rivals, want to send someone after us? Baby, we're in a position of power that comes with risks on the daily for things. These things are what me and your dear father work on to protect you from. Sweetheart, trust me on this one, please. It's a gut feeling, besides, I would have believed the rumors he looks Francis. She hugged her daughter, kissing the top of her head. We're going to be okay, just a bad series of events, love. I hope so, Mom. Listen, I'm almost done with this. I know Dad might get mad, but could you take it to the person upstairs? I doubt they'll even let me in the door. Blake pointed out before watching her mother smile. She took her daughter's hands, nuzzling her forehead a little before kissing it. You've been burning the wick at both ends, my sweet girl, go get some rest. I promise I'll be in here cooking breakfast as always tomorrow. Blake yawned, walking out of the kitchen whilst Collie grabbed a larger bowl from the cupboard. She saw that there wasn't any meat inside of the soup. Frowning at that, she got into the fridge and found some cubed chicken from the other day. Slamming it into the microwave, she watched as they became warm enough to be put into the soup. She plopped them down into. Making her way over to some chopsticks and blunting the ends of them on the very unlikely off chance that this kid was actually dangerous. She maneuvered quickly, walking with grace through her house. Up the stairs in the heartbeat, she moved towards the guest bedroom. She found Cloud, standing guard over the door. Cloud. Collie greeted him with a nod. I'm going in there to give him this, are you going to make an issue? Little bastard bit my ankle, for all I care he can eat dirt. Cloud scoffed and hissed with venom in his mouth. Why show him any kindness, if he's a faunus, he's a traitor. You have preconceived notions of this child's innocence, of guilt. She warned him before reaching for the door handle. I'm going in, and if my lovely husband has an issue with it, he can join me in here. Fine, whatever, but if I hear you scream I'm coming in there to kill, understood? Cloud inquired from the Belladonna matriarch. Holly just rolls her eyes at him, Crystal. She gets into the door, closing it slightly behind her, leaving just a crack open. The blonde was sitting on the bed, looking at the map. His eyes blank, dulled, and it seemed like tear streaks on his cheeks. She grabbed a tray, placing it over his lap and then placing the soup and chopsticks there as well. The boy confused but made no protest. I'm Collie. Collie introduced herself calmly. You got lucky, if you had fallen anywhere else almost, you'd been put in a grave by the next morning. Well, I guess you're the one that they're saying I came here to kill, Naruto mumbled before looking at her and then seeing her cat ears slightly twitch. Sorry if I am staring. Don't be sorry, what's your name? She inquired softly. I'm Naruto, Naruto Uzumaki. He introduced himself once again to whole new person. I'm sorry if that sounded like me an asshole. Language, young man, if I'm going to feed you, you're going to talk to me with some decorum. She chided him lightly, watching his face turn to that of confusion. What? What is a decorum? It means to have manners, Naruto. She frowned at his question whilst answering it. We're not that in school. Well, in the academy, we were taught how to write, speak, and all sorts of stuff, but we mostly got taught how to fight and beat the bad guy. Naruto laughed off a little bit, feeling slightly nervous. I never will, I'm sorry, okay? Apology, don't let it happen again. Eat, I want you to have something warm. She beckoned him, motioning with her hand for him to pick up the chopsticks. He did so quickly, taking a huge bite of the soup's contents that weren't melted down, along the few days old chicken she made earlier in the week. His eyes seemingly widened, and at first Collie thought Blake had done the unthinkable, but then his face flushed red. Holy crow, I mean cow, this stuff is good, you know. Naruto said excitedly before taking more chicken into his mouth. Wow, this is amazing, it almost like Ichiraku. Ichiraku? It's a ramen shop back home. Is the map this tray on top of out of date, or Naruto frowns at his statement. Of course, it isn't it? No, I'm afraid not. Where you are from? She digs whilst looking at his body language. He didn't make an adverse reaction to the question. The boy simply turned his head to the right and looked at the mirror. It was a 1,000-yard stare and something that she only saw in veteran White Fang, her hunters. She chalked that up to being suspicious, but given that he apparently had a chest wound the size of a fist that healed in a scar, something wasn't right. Listen, you don't have to be afraid to tell us. Were you kidnapped by slavers? Were you a part of them? I know my husband tries his best to keep Menagerie free of them, but it happens. Kali moved her hand to his after it had been sitting there for a minute. You're a child, it's okay to express feelings on things, okay? I did earlier, and everyone thinks I'm crazy. Miss Just my Kali, dear. Miss Kali, another weird name. Naruto felt his head swim a little. I'm not from here, I don't think I am at the very least. I kind of fell into a hole in the air, it was dark. Dark as in black dark or dark as in violet dark? She quizzed him, watching him think for a moment. Black dark. She hummed whilst patting his hand. Sounds like you fell through a wormhole. Black what now? It's a rip in space-time that connects 2 points across the world. Kali watched as his face became a blank stare. I lost you, didn't I? Like leaves in a hurricane. Naruto lightly quipped before taking a deep breath. Okay, so I fell into this wormhole and ended up here. What's so hard to understand about that when you just spelled it out? Because Kali nervously rubbed her home and nervously answered him. It's science fiction. You don't know what science fiction is, do you? Not a clue. Naruto answered brightly before laughing a little bit. She reached over to him, going to pat his shoulder when he flinched reflexively. Bewildered by the reaction, she moves her hand back. Noting that his eyes were closed for some reason, his face scrounged up as if expecting a heat. That's when he opened one of his azure eyes, his right one. Why you aren't gonna whack me for being dumb? Why on God's remnant green grass would I do that? She yelled out in shock. I don't know, it's what I'm used to. It's what almost everyone has done to me. Naruto held his hands up in defense. Come on now, no yelling, my head kind of is a little out of whack with all this new information, you know. Cloud suddenly kicks the door open, sword drawn. I heard yelling, are you? He didn't get to finish when he saw the death stare that Kali was giving him. He slowly backed away, nodding his head before slowly shutting the door. Sorry ma'am. Okay, let's say that this is perfectly acceptable. She growled out the word with anger. Where you come from and that I am supposed to hit you. What does that accomplish and why? Well, for starters, it rights my head and makes me shut up. Naruto points up before taking a deep breath. Second off, it's because I'm a shinobi, I can take the hit especially from a girl. Okay, let's ignore the fact that you are getting punched on a daily basis for you to react like that. The word you just said, what is it? By that I mean, what exactly is a shinobi, what do you do? She questioned, eyeing his body language. It's okay if you find it uncomfortable to talk about, but I can't assure you being safe from others who want to question you on it. The blonde took a deep breath. Okay, this is gonna sound crazy. Where I'm from we have people who are trained almost from the time we first walk to become shinobi. The word means in of itself, those who endure. Naruto scratched his chin before nodding his head. I graduated just 2 years ago, and I've been on tons of missions, fighting bad guys, saving people, heck I even took out my targets. Took out targets? Oh, nothing too big, just bandit bosses and Ryu shinobi. Naruto answered excitedly, his azure eyes shining brightly. Oh man, I can't wait till my legs heal up so I can just get back to being a shinobi. Alright, slow down there. You're saying as a what, how old are you? She inquired. Oh, I'm 12, but I'm turning 13 and let's hear what month is it here? Naruto questioned, noticing the calendar in the room with dust on it. It's July 9th, why? Oh, that means I turn 13 in about 3 months and 1 day. Naruto declared happily before suddenly deflating. Who am I kidding, all my friends are literally a world away now I guess. So, let me put this all together. You're a near 13-year-old kid who has been trained since you could walk to go around and defeat enemy forces. It's all you know, and these missions entail you taking out said opponents. Thusly, you ended up here after going on one of these missions I'll assume. Kali summarized before getting up. Am I about dead on with that? Oh, yeah, you've pretty much nailed it down. Okay, she walks toward the door. By the way, what is another word for shinobi? Well, I guess another word for it could be assassin. His eyes widened at the utterance of that, but he had a fox-like smile on face. Yeah, I kind of overhear everything, plus I got grilled earlier about it. I mean, technically, if I had a mission to take out an enemy shinobi, does that count as an assassination? Kali was standing there, pondering how a child could ponder what the definition of killing enemy combatants were. She looked at him, dampen-eyed, feeling bad for the kid. I wouldn't know how to respond that question. Sorry, Naruto, please enjoy your soup. I'll be around an hour to collect it up. Kali was about to open the door when she heard him laugh. What's so funny? Oh, nothing, I just think it's kind of cool how kind you all are. I mean, anywhere else, I'd have to worry about someone possibly killing me, you know. He said that so casually and with a bright smile that Kali hurried out of the room. Naruto stood there and frowned at her sudden reaction to leave the room. Well, that sucks, back to my lonesome again. He took a drink of the broth and hummed. Wow, this stuff is really good, not Ichiraku good but pretty close. Ira had been waiting on Kali as she exited the door. His arms were crossed as Midori walked next to him and he saw the look of horror on Kali's face. His face paled with hers, it meant that something about the kid was very off base. He watched as she walked over to him. Where's his stuff at? She questioned him. There in the middle guest room. My dear wife, are you okay? He questioned her before lightly grabbing her hands and growling a little bit. Did he hurt you? No, gods no, he didn't hurt me dear. I think we're dealing with someone repressing a lot of trauma. He's built this weird fantasy world around himself. He's claiming that him and other kids were trained from the first time they could walk to kill other people. I'm thinking he's a child solider, might have escaped even. Kali bit her lip before taking a shuddering breath. He's got the 1,000-yard stare with him, so obviously he's seen some things. As for being an assassin? Gira inquired. Kali shrugs her shoulder, crossing her arms over her chest. I don't know, to be honest dear. He's claiming that if he has gone on missions to fight others that also call themselves shinobi. She took a deep breath. It concerns me because there might be a blend of truth to the fiction. Speaking of his stuff. Midori reached into her pocket. I was going to bring this into the room, hoping it'd help me to make a rapport with him. She held out a photograph, an older style photograph. There, the blonde kid was getting his hair ruffled by a white-haired man in a mask that hanged over his right eye. To the left of the blonde was a boy with raven-like hair and onyx-colored eyes. To his right was a girl with green eyes and pink hair. Kali took the photograph, flipping it over. Team 7 registration photo. Sasuke Uchiha, left, Naruto Uzumaki, center, Sakura Haruno, right. Kakashi Haddock, team leader. Okay, so that's kind of how huntsman teams are set up it seems. Except, I don't recall 13-year-old kids in training taking out older hunters. If they're doing that then one stands to reason that they're doing it to themselves. Kali observed whilst looking at the various drawings on the photograph. Was there anything else? Well, there was a necklace and a headband with a weird pointed leaf on the front of it. Do you want me to give him all of these things? Midori asked while looking between her and Gira noting their thoughtful looks. Lady Belladonna, chief. Midori. Gira took a deep breath and sighed. My wife has built the rapport, perhaps it would be best for her to continue doing so. Granted, she should have waited until we had better guards. Cloud felt the comment hurt him, looking at the ground sadly. I wasn't thinking that he'd actually use his teeth let alone transform into a girl. He tried to explain before Gira just looked at him with a blank stare. You're right, no excuses. Okay, I'll go retrieve the items. Midori said with a smile before running toward the room they were being kept in. Thump. Kali and Victoria heard it. Both of them moved towards the room and saw the tray neatly placed on the foot of the bed. However, they watched as the blonde shinobi was trying to steady himself on his broken legs before hobbling toward the bathroom. What are you doing, you idiot? Victoria yelled out before shouldering him, wrapping an arm around her neck to support him. I was just trying to go to the bathroom, didn't want to bother anyone with that anymore. Naruto lightly chuckled before blushing red. I might need a little help getting there. You think? The medic yelled at him, her yellow eyes full of fury. Geez, if you're an assassin you're a stupid one. Kali walked over, dragging his IV station with her. They got to the door to the bathroom and Kali stood there to the side as Victoria took him into the doorway. Well, generally, I'm not. Like I was telling Kali over there. The blonde and the medic made it into the bathroom. Okay, you can go now, I don't want you in here whilst I'm naked. Boy, I've already seen it all. Heck, who do you think was cleaning you up? Victoria yelled out in frustration, still mad at the fact that he nearly got himself severely hurt just for going to the bathroom. You need to think of yourself as a fragile old man right now. The FFT. The shinobi snorted as he sneered playfully. I'm still in the springtime of my youth. Wow, you know what, that does sound awesome when you're struggling through pain. Who even talks like that? Two very big bushy brow people that I'll probably never see again. Naruto became downcast as he thought of Guy and Lee. Man, I really should have took that green tracksuit, now that I think about it, I'd been badass in it. Language. Kali chided him from around the doorway. She looked over at the tray, noting that the soup was gone. He must have ate it all in a hurry. Poor kid was probably starving, those IV fluids may have kept him good on his fluids, but she knew better than anyone, that food was a lot more better than the IV lines. She walked over, collecting the bowl, and then looked at the map. Noticing a black ink pen, she flipped the map over. There, she saw an entirely different map. This one of a single large continent with many islands around it. Crudely drawn, yes, but it was detailed enough for it to have separate names for the cities marked with various different symbols. She saw a leaf, a cloud, some sort of rock, an expression of wind, and that of rain. She also saw what snowflakes towards the north was of the one with the rocks. Then came the details of his traveling. Where he listed down various things for each one, but she couldn't read any of this. This kid was writing in an unknown language, which made her frown a little. Nervousness crept in her gut on the off chance that this kid wasn't abused to the point of lunacy. Then that meant. No, surely not, the odds of him telling the truth was astronomically unlikely. Holly recognized the signs though, between his scarring and talk. She was 100% sure that this child was a soldier under some bandit or clandestine unit from a nation. Honestly, she wouldn't put it past Mistral to use children as cannon fodder for Grimm. They had done so before and villages were set up around there to fail just as long as the heat was kept off Mistral City and Argus. It was an egregiously wrong system. The opposite of Menagerie and Kuokuana. Kuokuana was the bastion for the rest of the Faunus. It was on the most direct route to the eastern part of the island continent. If it ever was to fall, Menagerie as a whole would fall with it. Then a detail popped into Collie's mind. Did he know about Grimm? She watched as Victoria was practically carrying him piggyback toward the bed. The blonde having a goofy smile on his face. Victoria meanwhile was grumbling something about fellow dumb blondes before she sat him on the bed. I really needed to go, I'm sorry. Naruto laughed a little whilst blushing. The soup kind of ran right through me, you know it was awesome though. Soup. Victoria saw the tray in Collie's hands. Oh, I guess he can solid-ish food now. That's good, hey hold on a second. She grabbed the boy's wrist before yanking the needle out, getting a cloth wrap over the bleeding area. There you go, so that way we don't have to drag this thing around. Oh sweet, that's awesome. Naruto beamed before showing his fox-like smile. Holly had to admit it, when he smiled, the room kind of did light up just a little bit. Knock, knock, knock. Midori came into the room, carrying a few things in her hands. Hello there, looks like you're finally awake. What's up there Bluey? Oh, hey strange woman. His eyes looked down to the things in her palm. Hey, that's my necklace Grandma Tsunade gave me, and my team's photo. Oh man, I thought I lost them. So that's your team, another couple of little kids. Kali breathed before seeing Naruto gently grab the necklace. That must be important to him, truly important to him. Naruto. Naruto held his hand out to Midori, smiling brightly. You? Midori Arashi. She shook his hand, her foxtail wagging unknowingly. She noted the beam of wonder in his eyes. What? So cool you've got a foxtail. He pointed out before smiling brightly. Man, I'll trade ya, do you want my whiskers for the tail? Midori lightly blushed, chuckling a little bit. Lady Kali, can we keep him, for a supposed assassin he's actually rather adorable. I'm not adorable Naruto searches for the right words to use. A hyperactive knucklehead. There will be no keeping of anyone. Kali corrected Midori before looking at the blonde shinobi on the bed. Okay, well, is there any way we can contact Tsunade? Oh, Grandma, she's in my world. He rubbed the back of his head nervously. She's the leader there, the Hokage. Midori and the others shared a look with one another. The matriarch of the Belladonna family just pinched of her nose. Of course, she mumbled under her breath before taking and putting on her best attempt of a smile. Listen, Naruto, is there any way that you can identify any place on our map that looks similar to the one you drew? Naruto rubs his chin whilst reaching down and flipping the map back and forth. Nope, not really. I'm sorry, you know. Why do you do that? Victoria questioned, looking at him incredulously. The whole you know bit. Oh, sorry about that, that's just my verbal tick. I heard it was from my mother, old man Tucci used to give her raiment too, though he never said her name. That's what made everyone in the room look at him with surprise. Man, I would have loved to have met her. Wait a minute, are you saying you're an orphan? Midori questioned him with a saddened look. What about your dad? Oh no, both of them were really incredible shinobi. Naruto rubbed the back of his head sheepishly. Hey, so don't you all have a shinobi force here? We don't even know what that word means exactly. Midori answered him before putting a hand to her chin, looking over at Kali. We do have something called the White Fang though. Ooh, that sounds totally cool. Naruto declared before gushing a little bit. Sorry, I've always been a sucker for cool names. Victoria looks at him and then at the IV bag. Might have gave him a little too much of pain medication. He certainly is energetic, how much pain medication did Victoria give him? Midori reckoned before smiling softly. They're heroes around here, you see kid, we're faunus. There's that strange word again, what exactly is a faunus? Naruto inquired whilst rubbing his chin. All three women looked at each other and Kali walked out of the door. Victoria wasn't far behind her and then Midori. Naruto looked confused before holding a hand out. Wait, hold on a second, did I say something bad? Naruto watched as the door closed and deflated a little bit. Good job, Naruto, you and your motor mouth, you know. Kali and the group convened outside of the door. Gira was standing there, looking at them with Saber standing behind him. His wife just sighed and looked at him. So, she rubs her arm, I'm either thinking brain damage from the fall or he's been beaten into lunacy. Has to be. Victoria chimed in whilst crossing her arms. Kid's high on painkillers right now. Well, when he fully heals and sobers up we can reconvene on the issue. For now, I have an oath to keep caring for him. I see, well, this is certainly an interesting turn of events. Gira rubbed his chin before looking over at Cloud. You said that he displayed two totally different semblances. Yeah, he's able to clone himself and then turn around he turned himself into a girl I think. Cloud looked over at Victoria. He kind of creates smoke when doing it and it can't be a device projecting a hard light camouflage unless it's subdermal. Odds above that would be torturous. The medic breathed before pinching her nose. He keeps saying that he fell through a rift and that's how he ended up above Menagerie and falling right into your garden of all places. Holly bit her lip a little bit in thought. So, what about Sienna? No doubt she's already making moves to come and try to take the kid. Her arms were crossed when she thought of something. He's not really a threat right now, even if he was, which I'm starting to doubt. Maybe there was a slaver aircraft flying and he escaped. Cloud offered up, despite having ill will toward the kid. I mean, he may be a little bastard, but still. We checked the radar and there was no flights except for the ones heading toward the villages. Saber revealed whilst holding the papers in his hands. It could very well be an assassination attempt go horrible wrong, but that implies an inside job. I highly doubt Sienna, of all people, is that desperate. She's already slated to be the next high leader of the White Fang. I'm more or less just going to continue being the chieftain. Gira crossed his arms over his burly chest and then frowned. Still, this is all strange happenstances. Saber took a deep breath and sighs. Well, we'll keep the room under guard. Right, you do so. The chief of Kuokuana placed a hand on his shoulder. He's to be kept unharmed. Yes, sir. 3 hours later. Naruto found himself alone in the room as Dr. Vista exited after doing one last check of his legs. He wiggled his toes, though it had been painful. Gathering himself up, the blonde looked around the room. Noting things like the cherrywood desk across from him. It had paper on it and books. He wasn't much of a reader, in fact, he was terrible. Still, there wasn't much to do and laying in bed all night without distraction wasn't part of the plan. Struggling to where his feet could be placed onto the dark wooden floor. Naruto bit his lip as he supported his weight on the broken legs, carefully leaning forward to grab onto furniture. He didn't want the guards outside of his room to burst in. Fighting back the pain, he hissed lightly as he dragged his broken body across the floor. Using chakra to anchor himself to the walls as he went along. Coming toward the desk, he found a book hidden under it. Humming at the discovery, he reached down and used chakra with a single finger to pick it up. Pulling his hand back, he saw the title of it. Ninjas of Love. The Red Castle and Broken Sky. Naruto mentally read as he saw the bottom left corner. Collector's edition, with pictures of characters. Special pictures also included. He saw the words, rating on the back of it when he flipped it over. It was rated A, was that A for awesome or something else? Sliding his feet across the broken floor, he did well mimic a zombie in his shuffle. Now that the drugs were wearing off, he wondered if he had revealed too much. Maybe they could have a way of helping him back home. Lurching back onto the bed. The blonde took a moment to bit his lip to the point of it bleeding from the pain. He still wore that atrocious gown that left his backside completely exposed. He hated feeling this helpless and them treating him like a kid only served to stoke some fires of ire inside of him. However, he wasn't sure if they knew what shinobi were and honestly, he shouldn't have expected them to. He was in a whole new world after all. The blonde shinobi took his time to set up the photo of his team on the nightstand, supported by a small, framed picture of people in white armor. He looked at them and noted that they were young teenagers, each with smiles on their faces and various animal traits across their body. Did everyone in the world have them? What a world to fall into, where his whisker marks wouldn't be judged, at least he hoped. Just wait until they saw him fully sprinting, he after all had the proclivity to sprint on all fours sometimes. It might freak them out, it might impress them, or it might just do both. More than likely, it would be both. His face contorted to a frown as he continued to looking at the picture. He wondered if Sasuke got out safely or if he got dragged back in. That rift lasted a good minute and Naruto didn't see him fly in afterwards, even as it started to close. There was so many things happening all at once during that time and today. How many times had introduced himself, how many people did he meet, how many people were scared of him or thought ill of him. This place seemed kind of like Konoha, they were closed off and kept a standoffish attitude with strangers. I need to relax, if they were going to kill me, they'd done so whilst I was asleep, Naruto breathed in deeply before looking at the book. Okay, so what are you about? He flipped the back of the book over. Take a journey filled with romance, intrigue, and steamy action. Our hero, Momoteru, has defeated the Grim Oni in the last book. Now, with Princess Sapphire from Vale as an ally and lover, he takes on a journey to secure Mistral's borders. Can our forlorn prince and heir to the ninja clan save his nation in time, or will the beats of mighty wings take him upon the Red Castle as well? Naruto hummed, not a bad start, and then he opened the book. His eyes trailed across the first few lines. He began to slow down as his cheeks heated up. Oh my, he breathed before fidgeting onto the next page before double-taking the author's name. Is this what they consider books over here? Using his wiring, Momoteru gently wrapped the wrist of his lover, Princess Sapphire. She took a deep breath and breathed deeply as he trailed kiss downward toward her. Naruto's face became red like a strawberry, and now he was starting to get more uncomfortable for other reasons. Okay, this is, he continued reading before blushing deeper. Super hot, holy crap. This is so much better than Pervy Sage's books. Wait, what's he doing with the sword? No, holy crap. This is spicy. The blonde tween giggled like mad. Now that's Kenjutsu. As he continued reading, his childlike mind began to slowly twist and become more corrupted by the explicit literature. That's when he felt one of the pages that were different from the others, thicker. He opened the page, and out fell a drawn picture of Momoteru and Princess Sapphire. His eyes bulged, his face flushed, and a small bit of blood leaked from his nose. Hello, he purred before seeing the details, noting that it matched the end of the scene in the first chapter. Okay, maybe this place isn't so bad. I mean, in Konoha they always sealed the pinups until you bought it, and even then they just ripped mostly when opening them. The door opened, making him panically throw the book up in the air. Cloud entered the room, shutting the door. You called, oh great biter of ankles. He hissed lightly. Oh, I'm sorry, was just reading a book. How did you even, you know what, never mind. Not going to question it. He walked over toward the bed, hand lightly resting on the hilt of his sword. Listen, kid, you need to stop with the bullshit. Okay, look, if you fell in with a bad crowd, then we get it. You can help us, help you, and we leave and forget about everything that happened. Look, guy, I don't know what even all is happening outside. I literally just woke up in here. Trust me, things are coming at me 1,000 miles an hour, and I'm sorry about earlier, just freaked out by everything. Naruto apologizes before taking a deep breath. Really, Cloud, right? That's my name. He sat in the chair. Okay, let's say what you're saying is true, doesn't that make you an alien or something? I guess, kind of. Naruto rubbed the back of his head sheepishly before taking a moment. Look, I heard you talking earlier, I promise I won't bite you again unless you give me a reason to. The toad Franus just grumbled under his breath before rolling his orange eyes. Okay, fine, I'll take the apology. Why did you freak out a little bit when I entered? Naruto bit his cheek before slowly reaching behind him and pulling the book out. Cloud's eyes widened before he blushed. Oh, that's good reading. Where did you find it? He questioned whilst Naruto blushed a little bit. I kind of figured out how to shuffle like a zombie on 2 broken legs. That pain medication does wonders. He chimed in before nudging his head back and forth. You read this stuff too? Well, technically speaking, it's not allowed in the house because it's distracting. Cloud gently grabbed the book and whistled. Damn, the writer is an amazing artist too. Were you what I would give to be in Momo's place? Yeah, no kidding. Naruto chuckled lightly whilst blushing. So are you babysitting me or something? Well, considering that we have people who to do more thorough questioning, I'm kind of guarding you until you can walk. The fawn aside before patting the kid's shoulder. Okay, let's say I keep this a secret, but I want to know something from you. Okay, well shoot. Where did you get the scar on your chest, the fist-sized one? Cloud asked. Naruto gained a sullen look across his face. He grabbed the photo from the nightstand. He pointed at Sasuke and felt his breath hitch a little bit. My best friend betrayed our home and tried to go and seek power from someone else. He was always shrouded in darkness ever since his entire clan got killed. The blonde took a shuddering breath. To use a spear or something. His bare hand, his left one to be more specific. Cloud's eyes widened tremendously at that and then saw the tears welling up in the blonde's eyes. We both clashed and somehow we formed a rift. He was falling in it with me and well I made a call. Naruto placed his hand over the scar. Because some part of me believed that he needed to be saved, that somewhere I knew he had saw my side of things and well. Now I'm here. As insane as the story sounds, I kind of believe him. Cloud felt himself thinking before smiling. Do you like music? Well, I never got into music, but sure. What do you have in mind? Naruto asked. The man got out a strange device and pulled it apart. Now hang on, let me get my scroll on. Yes. That's not a scroll, scrolls are made of paper and unfurl. Well then, we'll just call it an e-scroll then. E-scroll? Electronic scroll. Oh, Naruto laughed at his own ignorance. That's kind of cool, you know. Cloud turned on a music player app and searched through it. I'm a bit of a metal guy, but I like a little rap. Here, this guy is known as Fable, but with a V and L at the end instead of an E. He's a one-man band, but he's talented. The guard pressed the play button and slowly the music began to flood into the room. Naruto listened as the music poured into the room. What's the song called? Hurricane. It's about a huntsman trying to save his sister who has been possessed by a grim. Cloud bopped his head to the music and smiled as the rapping parts came on. He looked over to see Naruto doing the same. Yeah, that's right man, get into the flow of it. As the song went back onto another round of the chorus both then sang out. Turn a grim to shattered dust. Running through my veins, you're better off dead, so I'll twist the knife. You may have fucked up my future, but I'll decide my life. Let go of the day, to embrace the night. Both sang as they banged their heads, with Naruto smiling like a loon. The song ended with Cloud smiling brightly. Damn kid, you must like that, want to hear another one? I got one about a man who lost everything, a man who sold everything, and then we got this character from the same story who is just built different, although that one has a lot of cursing in it. Cloud excitedly asked before smiling like a loon himself. Yeah sure, all of them just one question. Naruto smiled brightly and had a bead of sweat drop on his head. Sure, Cloud smiled brightly. What is it? What in the heck is a grim? Cloud felt the scroll drop out of his hands. What? End of chapter. Chapter 4. Rise and shine. Depression is being colorblind and constantly told how colorful the world is. Atticus. Belladonna Estate 2 weeks later. 2:23 p.m. Naruto's left leg now was almost fully healed and his right one was finished. At long last, he didn't need help going to the bathroom. Hobbling from the door and back, the blonde had just came back from his recent trip to the porcelain throne room. The boy took his place at the bed, looking at the various books that had been brought to him. The blonde was never the biggest reader, but he figured he had time. Him being under constant guard as he healed made the shinobi more than slightly nervous, however, Cloud wasn't such a bad guy once he got to know him. The toad Franus was currently outside of his door and being told to keep him in the room. Creating a clone whose state was healthier than the actual creator, he made it walk over toward the door. He knocked thrice and the door opened. Cloud was looking inside, noting the blonde's 2 other clones reading books. You need something there, Shorty. Shorty, the little nickname Cloud had came up with was sticking to him and it burned him slightly. Sooner or later, Naruto would hit a growth spurt. Then he'd be calling everyone else short. However, for now the blonde just bit back his retorts, better to wait to gloat. I was wondering if I can get out of this room? Naruto inquired whilst putting on his best smile. I've been trapped in here for days and I still have one broken leg, not like I'm gonna go anywhere fast. And Cloud furrowed his brow before taking a deep breath. I really shouldn't, but you've not been giving me any problems. So, I guess, hang on a second. Naruto saw the clone disperse as the door shuts. He bited his breath, it wasn't like he was not grateful for the hospitality of Gira and Kali as he came to fully know them. He really was, they didn't have to keep him here and they knew it. Yet, they still did and oftentimes one or both would come to talk to him. However, it was the tone they were using that slightly grated his nerves just a little bit. They talked to him like he was a child in duress. Naruto had been in duress almost his entire life and once you become numb to the feeling it's not like it great to have someone point out that you're hurt and confused. Pride cometh before the fall, as Pervy Sage would have said. He missed the old pervert, still though, that Ninjas of Love book had been intense. Strictly for all the right reasons that his hormone-addled mind could pick up on. By his bedside, on the nightstand, laid his headband along with his team's photograph. They had found his headband the other day, having fallen into someone's chimney. That was a lucky break because it was one of the truly few things Naruto held sacred to himself. He reached over, picking it up, and wandered his thumb over the steel plating. Iruka-sensei, I wonder if you're crying over me or mad at me. Don't worry, if you can somehow hear this, I'm fine. Thank you for believing in me, because of that, I turned out to be a not so bad shinobi, you know. Naruto felt prick at his eyes and then run down his face. Sorry, if I never got to swing by for the ramen treat the other night, had to go deal with Sasuke's dumb ass. Memories of the two going out for ramen and doing things flooded his mind. They hadn't all been pleasant, some coming from the time before he gained Iruka's respect. However, Iruka was truly the first true bond he had made within the village. His first link in a chain that had grown long and plentiful, and now that chain seemingly was at its end. It all ended with Sasuke, the nearly broken piece to it all, but still Naruto liked to believe it held firm even its weathered state. He just hoped that Kakashi or Grandma Tsunade didn't do anything super rash against Sasuke. He had chosen this. This was his choice. If he hadn't pushed Sasuke out with the smaller Rasengan when he did, then they would have both fell into the rift and been brought here. More than likely, because between the two, he had wings in his cursed forms, Sasuke would have just landed fine. Still, with the way the Uchiha was at the time, it would have been not safe for anyone here. Naruto sighs to himself and smiles softly. You see what you've done, you bastard, you got me a whole new mess, you know. He reaches up and slowly ties the headband to his head, securing it tightly with a pull. Looking at himself in the mirror, the blonde took a moment to note his unkempt look. His hair was a mess, his body slightly reeked, and though his legs weren't in a cast since they were healing so fast, he didn't have clothes to change into. He didn't want to get wet from a shower and have nothing to change into. It was one of the few spoiled things he had in his mindset. However, it was one of the very few things that in all things considered, was the normal. His thoughts were interrupted when Cloud entered the room, carrying with him a stack of clothing. He closed the door and placed them on the bed. The clothing was slightly weird, not like t-shirts and cargos he was used back in Konoha. Lady Kali guesstimated your size. When we get back, it may behoove you to thank her properly. There's 2 achikins, 2 pants and underwear, and we have some sandals for your downstairs. You'll be taking a walk with me. Cloud told him before walking toward the door. Lady Kali didn't know what you liked, so she went with orange. Naruto looked at the achikins. They seemed like very long button-up shirts that were long-sleeved as well. He smiled, nodding his head at Cloud. She guessed right, orange is my favorite color. The blonde smiled brightly before getting up from the bed and stumbling a little on his good leg. I'll be waiting for your knock. Cloud said before exiting the room. Not being told twice, Naruto hobbled quickly toward the bathroom. He closes the door and takes off his headband. Putting it on the sink, the blonde strips quickly before entering the shower. Closing the sliding door to the shower, the blonde looked at the single lever. It had a scale on it, ranging from blue on the right to red on the left. Turning it completely to the left, the blonde then pressed himself underneath the nozzle as initially frigid water sprayed over him before turning steamy hot. Smiling to himself, he slunk into the stream and let the hot water kiss his skin. Breathing in deeply whilst using chakra to anchor himself with his good foot, Naruto looked at the very few self-care items in the shower. He pursed his lips at the choices. Obviously girls mostly use this guest room, it seems. Wait, mango scented shampoo. Naruto picked it up and opened the top. Sniffing it, he smiled a little bit. It was meant for girls, given that there was one plastered on the front of it, but he shrugs his shoulders. Meh, it smells good. He poured a helping on his head, placing the bottle back before lathering it. It foamed up quite easily, and grayish water poured down from his head as he scrubbed. He hummed whilst thinking back over the last week, having woke up in this strange new world. His idling gave him time for figuring out things and learning new ones. He learned recently, and what opened a door for him, was that sometimes when his clones popped, he got their experiences. It was weird, it was funny, and it wasn't foolproof. The shinobi knew it wasn't a perfect ratio, not all clones gave memories back, but he bet he could once he got back into training. Still, baby steps, and the first steps was figuring out what this place had to truly offer. So far, it was good reading, great reading, and heavenly soap. Still, stuff smelt and cleansed better than anything he had in Konoha. Allowing the water to rinse his hair out, the blonde's unkempt spikes flattened down to a smooth mop of hair. His next goal was the soap bar and he began to scrub. He stayed scrubbing until the bar itself was almost halfway gone from the original size of his palm. Still, the grayish water falling from him meant that he was getting cleaned, and that was something after spending a literal week creaking like roadkill. Shutting off the shower, the blonde stepped out onto a mat. He grabbed a white towel and began to dry himself rapidly. His back and head first, followed by his front and legs. He shook his head, much akin to a dog, and the semi-dried spikes reemerged before he looked at himself in the mirror. Smiling at his much cleaner shine. The blonde wrapped the towel around himself before grabbing his headband from the sink and tying it back onto his head. Walking back into the guest room, or his medical room, he called it. The shinobi made his way over to the clothing. Dropping the towel, he picked up the boxers. He slid them up and found they were slightly loose. Frowning at that, since it meant that he was going to feel awkward sometimes while walking, he reached over for the pants. They were black, solid black, so there wasn't really much to comment on. Save that they had belt loops with a sash next to them. The sash itself was yellow in color and he tied it through the pants before slipping them up. He made sure to zip and button them before tying the sash into a slightly tight knot. Bouncing on his good leg to make sure they weren't going to just fall down on him, he hissed a little when putting pressure on his still healing left leg. Grabbing the next set of the clothing, the achikin. There were 2 of them, one was pure orange with black cuffs and the other was blue with orange cuffs. Taking a moment to observe it further, the buttons on the orange garment were black in color, whilst the blue's buttons were also yellow in complementary to the cuffs. Sticking to what he knew, the blonde wore the orange achikin. Slipping it over his head, the garment felt loose, nearly showing his shoulders. Still, he didn't want to complain. He could have just been told to stay in this room and that had been the end of the conversation. Hobbling toward the door, Naruto knocked on it whilst dispersing his clones. One of them, the one reading a book called Captain Ahab, flooded the memories of the book into his mind. It caused him to slightly feel nauseous a little, but he quickly recovered as the door opened. Cloud stood there, dressed in his white armor, and whistled a little bit. "Damn kid, you clean up nicely." He complimented before noting the headband. "What is that you're wearing?" "It's my headband from my village. It signifies that I'm a shinobi." The blonde stated proudly before noting the expression on Cloud's face. "I can't wear it, can't I?" Cloud took a moment and sighs, "No. I'm sorry." Frowning, Naruto took it off slowly before hobbling back toward the bed. He laid it on the nightstand, gently rubbing it before walking out toward Cloud. The young guard closed the door behind the blonde, patting his shoulder. "Don't sweat it, kid, it'll be there when we get back." Cloud then reached behind him and handed Naruto a crutch. "Here, this'll help you with that bum left leg for a little bit until it's healed." The blonde situated and began to use it to help him with his speed of walking with Cloud. As he walked, he noted the looks of several familiar faces throughout the estate. These guards were looking at him, judging him, and making sure to never look away. He felt those stares dig into him, it was no different really than how Konoha looked at him. One of these things is not like the other, one of these things doesn't belong. He often heard that chant from school kids when he was in the village, whenever he was around. Making his way to the stairs, the blonde struggled down them, but eventually got to the bottom floor. This place was huge, and he gawked at it a little as they began walking toward the back. Exiting out of the back double doors, Naruto saw the garden Kali had told him about. It filled with palm trees and various tropical flowers. He sniffed the air, noting the sweet aroma of the said flowers. Then he saw the gazebo, and broken tiling on the ground from pieces had been missed. He frowned as it was still broken, but was moderately surprised to see a small depression 5 feet wide from where he landed. "That's where you supposedly found the ground," Cloud commented whilst pointing at the spot. "Come on, let's go for a walk." Slowly hobbling with a crutch, Naruto and Cloud took a walk around the garden before coming across Gira. The large man was knelt down, looking at a large tropical flower that was myriad of colors. He snipped a few errant pieces of, keeping it tidy. He stood up, his imposing figure dwarfing both Naruto's and Cloud's. Turning to face them, the man crossed his arms, the garden shears in his hand still. He nods his head, "Cloud, Naruto. What are you doing in the garden?" "I'm taking our guest from the clouds for a walk. His legs are nearly healed, but the left one is still a bum leg, chief." The Kuokuana guard answered promptly. "I hope this was okayed by you, and not Kali." "I knew nothing of the sort." Gira answered before looking at Naruto. "Nice clothing, I'm assuming my darling wife picked you out some sort of outfit. Unfortunately, your original clothes got shredded when we had to save you." The blonde waved him off, "It's not big deal, it's just clothes." He replied with a smile. The chief of Kuokuana looked the boy up and down, regarding him. "You feeling better, truly, in such a short time?" "Of course, I recover quick, you know." Naruto beamed whilst giving the biggest smile he could. "Still, like Cloud here said, my left leg is still healing. As you've not been a nuisance to us, more or less, just a hurt kid, I'm willing to let you go out and walk Kuokuana. Do not stray from Cloud, however, he's to be your escort at all times. Even when you're healed, until we figure out who exactly you are and where you've come from." Gira told Naruto sternly before placing the garden tool on the ground. "For now, however, let me walk with the both of you." "Yes, chief." Cloud bowed his head in a curtsy before looking over at Naruto. "Hey, numbskull, Chief Belladonna stating something like that means you bow." "Oh. Like this?" Naruto questioned before dipping his head forward a little. The Frontis guard just groans. Gira merely chuckles a little, pats the blonde's shoulder. "That'll do for now, now you look like you were curious, was it me or the flower?" "Well, honestly, it's the flower." Gira pursed his lips, smiling a little. "Aren't you going to ask why I'm gardening?" "Well, not really, you see, back where I'm from I never really had a lot of friends. So, I spent my years as a kid taking care of potted plants. I got pretty good at it and I was even taking care of a cactus plant a friend sent me from his home in Suna." Naruto smiles at the memory of the flowering cactus, wondering if Iruka would be by to water it every now and then. "So, yeah, what kind of flower is that?" "They're called plumeria, it's a flowering bush. It's the flower of Kuokuana." Gira stated proudly before watching as Naruto walked over to it and bent down to sniff it. "It carries a sweet scent, doesn't it?" "Oh yeah, it does, it smells awesome, you know." Naruto noted the hints of spice on the sweet scent, which rankled his nose a little bit. "Achoo." Gira and Cloud chuckle, with the larger Frontis man pointing toward the red flower Naruto had been smelling. "The red ones carry a little bit more of spicier scent to them." He belatedly warned the blonde kid whilst seeing him observe the plant. You seem something. Nothing really, just looking at it more. We had nothing like this in Konoha, it's awesome though. Naruto laughed before pulling back and stretching a little. So, what other flowers do you got? Well now that you mention it. 1 hour later. Those flowering trees are called foxtails and over here we have higginbana, though they don't bloom until October. Gira continued rambling about which plants he had in the garden his wife helped him grow. My favorite flower, out of all of these, is still our national flower of the Managerian people, sunflowers. Naruto saw the little patch of sunflowers towards the back of the large garden. He walked over to them, noting some of them were red in color. Huh, these ones are red. Why is that, aren't they supposed to be yellow? He inquired before feeling them and smiling a little bit. They're very soft. Believe it or not, sunflowers do primarily come in yellow. Gira then rubbed his nose with a smirk of pride. However, they can also come in white, mahogany, brown, and even orange. Ooh, that's cool, you know. Yeah, where I'm from, these only grew yellow. Naruto smelled them and then smiled softly. They smell so sweet, kind of like Ino's shop back home. Ino? Gira looked at him and then smirked. Little girlfriend. Oh, gods no, she's just a fellow graduated. She graduated as a kunoichi. The blonde shinobi stated before noting the confused looks on Gira's and Cloud's faces. Oh, that's just the girl's version of a shinobi. But didn't you just say that she had a shop? Cloud raised an eyebrow, curious to why Naruto would make a mistake like that if he had. Oh, crap, yeah. I mean, technically it is her shop, but her dad owns it. She grows wolfsbane there, wisteria flowers, and even roses. Naruto snapped his fingers before noting the lack of the flowers of love in the garden. For a garden like this, why didn't you ever grow any roses? I'm actually surprised that supposed differing worlds share plants. Anyway, let's say that is still the case, what color were the roses from your supposed world? Gira inquired before crossing his arms, looking him in the eye. Naruto sheepishly rubs the back of his head. Okay, so, they come in a lot of colors. I mean there's the reds, blues, yellows, whites, but Ino was also starting to cultivate purple and black flowers. He blushed a little bit before giggling. I actually suggested she try to grow pink ones, because well. Oh, now this I have to hear. Cloud chuckled before looking at Naruto. So, you do have a little girlfriend? Well not really, she's more or less into another guy. Naruto thought of Sasuke and then felt some pain in his left chest. He's a total jerk though, you know. You know what, Cloud, I like the cut of this kid's jib. Gira laughed before noting the look of confusion and raised hand of the kid. Yeah, Naruto, what is it? What is a jib and why do you want to cut it? Both adults in the garden just smacked their faces. Groaning from the pain their brains were in. Obviously this kid was curious, young as he was at the tender age of 12, but it seemed slang eluded him in some degrees. Granted, this was older slang, but most kids had heard from others at some point. Okay, follow along with me. Gira took a deep breath, preparing himself for some mental gymnastics. Okay, so you know what a flag is, right? Well who doesn't know what a flag is, right? Naruto crossed his arms, eyeing the much larger man curiously. What do flags have to do with a jib, whatever that is? The man took a deeper breath, sighing before he went to explain it. A jib is a sail on a ship and the kingdoms all had a particular way of placing theirs. That's why, when I say, I like the cut of your jib I mean I think you're good. If I said I didn't, then you'd be in a world of trouble. He finished before noting Naruto's head nodding. So kind of like my headband I have in my room. If another person has a Konoha headband, then we're good, but if someone else has a Kiri or Suna headband, it could spell out trouble. The two adults looked at one another whilst Naruto summarized it. Pretty much just shows that we're friends, not enemies. I mean, yeah, in a wayward way about it. Cloud commented before ruffling the kids much to his annoyance. Still, we're gonna head to Dr. Vista's here soon since you can move about on your own. Naruto blew an errant strand of hair from his face. Do I have to? I mean, Vista is nice and all, but I keep telling you all. I'm not from here and I'm not an assassin. The blonde slightly whined. Well, the assassin part is something I believe, but kid, you've been beaten the crap out of. I mean, your feet and hands are littered with calluses. Most men who work in construction don't have them like you have them. Not to mention, your disturbingly familiarity with the vital points of a human body. Cloud rubbed his chin whilst speaking and pointed his finger toward him. Also, you seem to carry yourself more openly, so you're more of a solider. Okay, so I'm a solider, I mean technically shinobi are expected to defend their nation and village. Naruto agreed whilst seeing Gira and Cloud frown. What did I say wrong this time? Hey, watch the tone, no reason to flip script. Gira calmly warned him before sighing. The reason I frowned is because, Naruto, child soldiers are illegal in any part of the world. The blonde blinked for a minute and then thought for a minute. So let me get this straight, how old do you have to be to fight for your village Air Nation? Kingdom, Gira corrects before sighing, you have to be at least 18 for the regular armed forces. What the heck? That's like super old, I know Jonin that are younger, you know. I mean they're super elite shinobi who have completed dozens of missions. Naruto hollered out before pointing at Gira and Cloud. Are you guys serious? Cloud smacked Naruto over the head lightly, making him yelp a little bit. Cool it with the yelling, twerp. Sheesh, going to give me a migraine with all that hollering. Cloud used his pinky to dig into his ear, cringing at the ringing from Naruto's voice. To elaborate, there are some forces like hunters that train from when they're 10-ish, but never see active combat unless it's with Grim, and that's usually supervised until they're like 17. Hunters, Naruto thought for a moment, then smirked. Oh, we had hunters. Oh. Cloud was shocked by that statement, do tell. Okay, so our hunters were called Anbu, and they would sometimes go after Ryu shinobi. Traitors, and the likes. Basically, well, it wasn't a good day when they caught their guy. The blonde shivered a little bit. The penalty for betraying one's village is usually death. Beer and Cloud both looked at each other. If this kid is from another world, I kind of slightly prefer the Grim at this point, gods above it sounds like a nightmare. Cloud thought before looking over at the chieftain of Kuokuana. Wonder what Chief Gira has got running through his head. Beer gazed into the boy's life-filled eyes, filled with happiness as he talked about the darkest things. I don't know where you're from, but it must have been hell if you're truly happy about something like that. Has this world of yours ever experienced, peace? The chief inquired whilst crossing his arms, looking down at Naruto incredulously. The blonde thought about it and stayed standing there rubbing his chin for a few moments. A pregnant silence filled the air, only giving birth to the blonde, drawing a blank and shrugging. This made both Gira and Cloud look at one another. Both understood one thing, if this was an imaginative scenario, and that the kid was messed up in the head, it meant that he ever only knew one thing truly. Fighting. Dr. Vista's office 2 hours later. Dr. Vista was currently sitting in a chair across from Naruto. The chestnut-haired man was going through the profile he had built from Naruto over the last 2 weeks. The kid had healed remarkably fast, just a week off from his projections given what his body was showing. Knock knock knock. 3 rapid knocks signaled that he was here. Come on in, Uzumaki. Vista called out whilst hearing the creaking door open up, thank goodness the hospital was back to being slow again. Hello there young man, looking debonair. Bibo what now? Naruto questioned as he shut the door behind him. The doctor chuckles under his breath, it means looking good, or suave. Naruto blushes a little at that, smiling sheepishly. Oh, thanks, I guess. Hey, so, I'm up walking around now, and this place Kuokuana is super huge. The blonde gushed whilst taking a seat at a chair. So, what's up doctor? Well, Naruto, like I told you at the Belladonna estate. I've assigned myself as your doctor and psychiatrist. Just to remind you, and to reassure you, anything we discuss here short of threats of harm to yourself or individuals is perfectly subjected to confidentially. There is no one, not one single person, that'll hear these things but me. Vista got out a piece of caramel candy, tossing it over to the blonde. You seem to like caramel, so I got you some more. Oh sweet, these things are weird sticky and all of that but super good. Naruto popped the wrapper open before popping the soft taffy-like candy in his mouth. So good. Vista chuckles a little bit and writes something on his notepad. Okay, continuing on from our last week's conversation. You said that the Sasuke Uchiha was. Is your best friend despite him supposedly stabbing through your chest. Vista made a note before nodding his head. Can you describe to me why you view him in such a light, despite the fact that you nearly suffered an intentionally fatal injury from the older boy? Well, doctor, Sasuke is just in a dark place. It's my duty as a friend, maybe even as a brother, to drag him out. We grew up in the academy together, and yeah, he's cold but I know him. He's not usually like that, ever since he got bit by that snake bastard Orochimaru. Naruto crossed his arms before swallowing the caramel treat. I'm actually glad I can cuss in here, usually Lady Belladonna doesn't like it when I do so at the estate and with her large cat ears. Makes it hard for you to hide it. I get it, I'm glad to see that you're using lady in there. She's a kind person. Vista praised before jotting down some more notes. So, this Orochimaru, who is he? Orochimaru is a murderous traitor to our village. He is trying to steal Sasuke's body because his is failing. Hopefully, at the very least, that I held Sasuke long enough from getting there too soon. I really hope that snake bastard turned to dust. Naruto seethed before growling under his breath. Which is why I am kind of frustrated, don't get me wrong, I kind of figured I was dead when I went into the rift, but it irks me that I'm not home helping him. I see, so this bond you share with Sasuke, it is very significant. Is this because you both were orphans growing up and you both developed a codependency on one another to validate each other's existence? Vista inquired whilst gauging the blonde's reaction. The shinobi became slightly downcast and sighed. No, doctor, we weren't dependent on each other for that. Sasuke was always popular, I mean all the girls liked him and some guys too. He said whilst biting his lip a little bit. Heck, I mean, I love the guy like a brother. He is the pinnacle reason why I train, it's because I don't want to just stand above him, I want to be equal to him. So, you want to have equal standing on the grounds of the Sasuke fellow. Has that changed since the fight you both had? The good doctor questioned whilst jotting a few more notes down, taking a deep breath. Naruto nods his head slowly and sighs whilst looking down. I never realized just how vulnerable he was over his brother. I mean, his one vow was to kill him, but you know I was hoping to help him. I just wish there was some way I could let him know right now that despite everything, I'd do it all again if it meant to help him. A tear found its way out of his eye. I'm sorry, it's a very touchy subject. Don't be sorry for crying, it's natural. Why do you apologize for that? Vista inquired. Because shinobi aren't supposed to cry, we're supposed to harden ourselves. I guess that's why I've always been a crap shinobi. I can't bring myself to kill when it matters most, I hesitate because I relate to the pain someone feels. Like something in the back of my head is telling me, no, ordering me to stop. Naruto grabbed his head in frustration. It's all a bunch of confusing emotions, you know. This voice in your head, does it become louder when you're about to fight or during the fight? The doctor questioned him whilst writing down a couple of notes. It's okay to answer that in any way, Naruto, I don't think you're crazy. I know I'm not crazy, you know. I'm just saying, for some reason, I try to see the good in people no matter what. There's very few people that I can look at and say that they need to just die. Orochimaru is one of them because of all the pain he brought to others. Naruto looked away before biting his lip. Yet, I knew two people who also brought pain to others and they redeemed themselves, so what is the right choice? Interesting, this kid is supposed to be a child solider, but he shows a willingness to go against his own indoctrination. Vista bit the tip of the pen, noting the mix of emotions on the kid's face. He doesn't seem to be unsure of what he wants to say, he fully believes he's from another world. That reading material you gave me on the last visit. Things about something called aura and semblances. I mean, yeah, they sound similar to what I use. However, doctor, I'm telling you that I don't have aura, but chakra. I don't have this semblance everyone keeps whispering about. I mean, think about it, I'm supposed to have one ability, right? Naruto questioned whilst crossing his arms, his crutch sitting at the back of his chair. I really can't wait to be fully healed so I can help around the place, I mean it's the least I can do, you know. Aren't you wanting to get home? Vista commented whilst noting the look in Naruto's eyes slightly shift. You seem fixated with events back home, are you sure that this Konoha place isn't somewhere here on Remnant? Doctor, I'm 100% certain that it's not. I mean, look. Naruto weaved a single hand seal before a clone appeared next to him. Can anyone do these things like this? The clone suddenly transformed into a notepad, with Naruto catching it before it fell down. He formed another clone which turned into a pen, and he began writing with it. Vista saw him turn the notepad over, revealing strange scribbling on it. The notepad and pen both disappear into clouds of smoke right afterward. Vista just chuckles a little bit and smiles. To be fair, semblances do evolve over time. You might have started with clones, but gained the ability to transform them. I actually followed a case of girl with the ability to create hard light creations, unfortunately, last I heard, she perished in a house fire in Vale. The young doctor took a minute and sighed. So, let's say I believe you, that you're in fact an alien to this world. Why would you want to help anyone here? Because it's the right thing to do, duh. Naruto frustratingly emphasized whilst crossing his arms. It seems like from what I heard, despite it seemingly being different, Kuokuana has a hard time with these grim things, what right do I have to make the situation worse? That caught Vista by surprise, he stopped writing in his notepad. So, you're saying, despite us not being your people, you'd still help us if the time came for it. Of course, I made a vow to myself to never ever go back on my word. It's my Nindo, my shinobi way. Naruto declared with a smile. I'm more than happy to fight to protect those I come to call friends, I mean, it's how I ended up here. I was never fighting Sasuke. I was fighting the darkness inside of him. So you want to be a hero? Vista inquired whilst going back to his notepad. Tell me, Naruto, has there ever been another dream that you had? You said to me a week ago that your one true dream to be this Hokage as you put it. All things considered, if you're from another world, that dream is now impossible, correct? The azure-eyed shinobi took a moment. Thinking hard on the doctor's words before taking a deep breath. So, what if it's impossible, then I'll just do the impossible. I'll keep moving forward, no matter what, because hard work is wasted on someone who just gives up. He declared with fiery passion in his voice. If you never ever give up, all the work you've done is never wasted, even if your dream is so far out of your reach it seems impossible to grab. I told Sasuke the day that we fought that it didn't matter what I had to do. I'd broken everything, every single bone in my body if it meant that I brought him home. I never went back on my word, heck, I like to believe that kept my word to the letter given how I landed here. Naruto laughed at the end before noting Vista's stunned gaze as his violet eyes lit up. What, I'm really passionate about this, you know. It's as if I'm staring at something glowing in his heart as he says these things. For the briefest moments, I saw it, I swore I did. Inside of his heart was this golden speck of fire, far different than the blue lines going through his body. It looks like an aura network, but more advanced, with strange coils. Vista's mind raced 1,000 miles an hour as he scanned over the boy's chest again. Yet, that golden energy, it felt so much like an aura that it was almost uncanny, but it looked heavier. Doctor? Vista snapped out of it, deactivating his semblance. Sorry, that was an impressive little speech there, Naruto. I was just stunned that a child can carry such a will like that. He said honestly, whilst lying about why he zoned out. The words were lost on him as he tried to speak. He took a moment to gather himself and took a deep breath. I believe that you're a very passionate individual who strives to see the good in people to a fault. Which is why I'm recommending that you come here bi-weekly. Every Monday and Friday. For these hour sessions. Dr. Vista took a minute to look at his notes. There is just one more subject, that stomach tattoo, what is it supposed to represent? You were avoiding the topic the last time. Naruto stared away before taking a deep breath. It's complicated. I'll tell you one day, I promise, but I'm scared too. Mr. Uzumaki, it's perfectly fine to be scared, remember I'm not going to say. I said drop it. Please, I'm sorry for snapping, but there's just certain things I'm comfortable talking about and others not so much. Naruto apologized for snapping. I'm really sorry doctor, seriously, you know. There it was again, just like last week when he tried touching on the subject of the tattoo. Vista took a deep breath and smiled. It's fine, that is my bad, I should respect your boundaries young man. Anyway, now that you're out and about, perhaps you can try some food local to here. Vista looked at the clock and smiled. Matter of fact, I have a lunch planned at a nice little cafe. Nothing too fancy, just sandwiches. Sandwiches, you mean those things with the meat in between the bread? Naruto questioned, whilst Vista himself stopped, almost wanting to slap himself in the face. I mean, Lady Kali made me something with cheese in the middle, it was burnt, but good burnt. That's called a grilled cheese. Vista pointed out and then smiled. Yes, and they go great with tomato soup. Oh, they do, awesome, I love tomato soup. Sometimes I put hot red peppers in there to give it a sort of kick, you know. Naruto beamed whilst smiling brightly. I'll have to cook for them because I feel like a total deadbeat from laying in the bed all day. Did you fell 20,000 feet bare minimum? The doctor deadpanned. And I still feel like a deadbeat for laying in bed all day. Naruto pointed out matter-of-factly before smiling brightly. Say, this is important, like life or death important. Could this be a breakthrough? Vista tightened his grip on the notepad and waited for the answer. Okay, what is it, Naruto? Please tell me because I just know remembered. Kali's food has been so good, but now that I'm out and about, well, it's a life and death scenario. Naruto gripped his head and groans a little bit. Please, I'm begging you doctor. Just spit out. Do you guys have ramen here? Vista and Naruto sat there in silence as both had spoke at the same time. With the doctor leaning forward, his seat creaking with his action. Naruto sat there blankly and then the good doctor just held his face. He began to laugh, at first calmly, only turning into a torrent of obscene laughter soon afterward. Naruto laughed with him, nervously at first, and then he joined in the mirth-filled laughter. Naruto rubs the back of his head, sheepishly, wow okay that was awkward. Seriously though, I have a ramen addiction, please tell me you guys have some here. He begged. You're having a laugh right now. Of course, we got ramen, everywhere has ramen. Vista yelled whilst having flames in his eyes. Ramen is a staple food in Mistral, and my gods doesn't menagerie makes good ramen. They do. Yes, they do. Come on now, I've been looking for someone to go with me like forever. Vista got up, grabbing his violet overcoat. I'm gonna change plans, we're going to a ramen shop with Cloud. Alright. Naruto celebrated before pumping his fists and then he nervously chuckled. I can be kind of expensive when it comes to ramen heh. Sheesh, you can't be that bad, you're just a kid. 1 hour later. The Golden Dragon was Kuokuana's ramen shop of choice. It catered to pretty much every taste one could imagine. Vista loved it, he came here almost daily after work, but it wasn't too shocking to see him here for his lunch hour. What had him hooked was the endless combinations and the relatively cheap price for the ramen stand. Where most places charged a few leans for just a bowl, the same amount here meant getting 2 bowls at the very least. With all the trimmings, and Vista loved his squid. Cloud was on cloud 9, his lips slurped the noodles up into his gullet. He moaned at the hot liquid broth going into his throat after he took a particularly long drag. Vista had great taste, he'd have to bring Castor and Midori here at some point. Naruto, the blonde shinobi who had brought the subject up, was currently on his 5th bowl. Miso pork ramen with Narutomaki, and it was by far the most delicious ramen he had ate besides Ichiraku. Ichiraku would, and shall always remain, number 1. However, this place came at a very close second place. He sipped at the bowl after he finished eating the noodles. Drinking down the broth and letting out a loud burp afterwards. The kitchen staff over the counter were laughing at the kid's antics, with Vista and even Cloud chuckling at him. The blonde just stared at his stack of bowls and smirked. "So, what's the record?" he asked one of the kitchen staff. 20. The staff replied as she prepared fresh noodles and then smiled. "You're going for number 6, young man." "Well duh, I mean this stuff is awesome you know, if it's okay with you doc," Naruto said with a smile whilst looking towards Vista. Vista, who was on his 2nd bowl, looked at him. "If your blood work wasn't so good, I'd say no, but your blood work has been perfect despite everything. So, yeah, give him another one, but that's it, capiche?" The doctor ordered playfully before seeing the woman smile and nod. "Thank you miss. My name is Yumi," she greeted him with a smile. "I work the day shift here. You must be the famous human doctor, Vista, that everyone keeps talking about." "Famous, huh?" He gushed a little. You willingly came from a big hospital in Mistral to here. Not only that, you were one of the very few doctors to leave the hospital and treat people openly here in Menagerie. I know a lot of our people view your kind with contempt, but I humbly thank you for your service." She bowed a little whilst thanking him. "I hope you and your students Castor and Pollux have been getting along with everyone." "Castor has, but Pollux misses his home," Vista admitted before looking toward Naruto. "Naruto, what is it?" He looked into Yumi's golden eyes with rectangular pupils. "Frog eyes. Close, but they're goat eyes." She smiled brightly and laughed. "Helps me keep up with fast movements of my guys in the back. You've got fox whiskers sort of, are you a fox Fronis?" Well they're not real whiskers, but birthmarks. As for Fronis, nah, I'm sorry I'm human," Naruto admitted before watching the woman's reaction turn to a flushed one. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to stare, honest." No, you're fine sweetheart, it's just weird that a child with your birthmarks not to be a Fronis. Surely there's other qualities about you. Wait, I noticed something, you've got really long upper canine teeth." She snapped her fingers when he nervously smiled. "That's not normal for human kids, see, you're close enough." Naruto giggled a little whilst blushing. "Oh, stop it, you're making me blush you know." Her bright orange hair shined in the sunlight when it made it through the covers of the golden dragon. Naruto wouldn't admit it openly, despite her weird eyes, she was beautiful. He watched as she turned around and walked away. Vista was staring at her longer than normal, and the blonde spotted. "Hey, doctor, you got a crush on her or something?" He teased just a little bit, making the man push up his glasses just a little bit. The doctor chuckles a little too sweetly, "Don't mess with me, I control your life at the moment." Har, tough crowd. Naruto moaned before noting someone catching his eye. "Hey, who is that on the wall?" "Oh, that's Blake," Cloud said absent-mindedly before smacking his mouth close. "Shit. Who is she?" And wait, Naruto peered closer. "Wow, holy crap, she's the record holder for fish ramen. 21 whole bowls, tuna and salmon." Cloud mumbled before remembering the girl from 2 years ago, absolutely annihilating the place when it first opened up. I mean, she didn't even want to stop, but she was turning green. And Naruto blushes a little bit. "She's kind of cute, you know." Cloud smacked his head on the countertop, crap baskets being held by a pacifist. 2 hours later. Naruto was walking along the side of a street with Cloud. His crutch was helping him keep up, with him occasionally moving his leg to brace every so often. The blonde looked at the beach area of Kuokuana. It was beautiful, tan sand and crystal clear waters. He took in the salty air and found a bench to sit at. He sat down, watching the waves roll onto the shoreline. Dark clouds situated at the distance, with thunder rolling off them occasionally. Cloud noted this, figuring that since storm season was finally here, it wouldn't be long before another storm came in. Hopefully this one just remained a strong thunderstorm at best. The guard took a seat next to his charge, with the injured blonde taking off his sandals to feel the heated concrete sandy dirt on his feet. "This place is beautiful." Naruto frowned a little bit though. "I read from one of the books that the rest of the place looks like a large desert though." "Yeah, that's one of the bad things about Menagerie. You see, kid, towards the eastern side of the island continent it's nothing but barren wastes. Well mostly, there is places where we could set up villages, but Grim usually come and tear them down," Cloud said whilst looking onto the waters and pointing off to the far island. We don't even own those islands over there, that's Mistralian territory. Yet Naruto remembered from a map he had read, he crossed his arms in pensive thought. They don't ever use it. It's a petulant strike at us. You see, nearly 80 years ago, there was a great war here on Remnant. My kind, Franus, were one subjects to slavery. We were thrown into the war by our masters from Mistral and Atlas. Meanwhile, Vale and by extension Vacuo gave us the choice. We chose to fight and the last king of Vale, Arthur, abolished the system of slavery and monarchy. Cloud smiled a little bit, thinking about it. It's a little ironic, despite our contempt for humanity, we looked up to the man as a true savior. I'm sensing a but. Yeah, a big, but because Menagerie was only named such 80 years ago. It was an old slave camp for Atlas where a lot of us were made to work in the dust mines. Menagerie is basically, well by definition, a place like a zoo with a bunch of wild animals. The toad Franus spat before growling a little bit. Ever since then, my people fought for the same rights as every human has. Change the name. Cloud looked at Naruto, I beg your pardon. Change the name, don't let it be a name that's someone who hated you. Change it to something you should be proud of. Because, well, I've seen what people do to others. It's cruel, it's horrible. There was once this village who were trying to build a bridge and a businessman used bandits to hurt them. Naruto placed both of his hands in front of him. Tazuna, that's his name, Tazuna the bridge builder. Tazuna. Yeah, he was salty old bastard, you know. However, it all came from a good place. You see, this business guy was a true bastard. His name was Gato and he used bandits and 2 awesome shinobi. My team was sent in to escort him and when we discovered he had lied about the details we held a vote and we voted to continue helping him. Naruto felt something travel down his face and his guard noted it. He was only that way because Gato not only took his previous son-in-law but another one and little Inari was almost killed by him too. Tears broke from his eyes and the blonde scrunched his face up a little bit. The enemy, my enemies at the time, Haku and Zabuza. They were powerful, they were cool, but both were manipulated by Gato. Haku died protecting Zabuza. Zabuza died whilst taking Gato's head. Me and my sensei created a bunch of clones to scare the rest of the bandits off. Naruto gripped his fist tightly. I promised them that I'd come to see them again one day. I guess I'll never get to keep that promise. Who did you promise to see again? Naruto was taken aback by the question. What did you just say? Who did you promise to see again? It sounds like you revered that Haku and Zabuza fellows. Cloud smiled slightly and then reached up to grab a handkerchief. Here man, you might need this. Thanks. The shinobi wiped his face off before staring at the glistening water. I guess it's all of them. Haku and Zabuza died doing the right thing. In fact, it was during that very mission that I promised myself to never back down or break a promise if I could help it to never go back on my word. Inari, Tsunami and Tazuna were the very first friends I made outside of my village. Well, how about this? Cloud turned to Naruto, holding out his pinky. I'll be your friend so long as you promise me one thing. Naruto tentatively reached up, extending out his own pinky. What's that, Cloud? If you are what you say you are and that you want to help us. Never back down and never let someone take away that one thing that makes you you. He smiled softly at the blonde. You're really such a warm-hearted kid, you know that. Wrapping his pinky around Cloud's, Naruto nodded. I promise, I'm sorry biting your ankles when we first met. PFFT, he blew off the comment, don't worry about it. I mean, you were scared, but please warn me next time before turn into a naked girl. I call that my sexy jutsu. Naruto teased before breaking the pinky hold. It's one of my first techniques I developed on my own. Say, I have a question. What is it? Cloud inquired. What is dust? Naruto asked whilst looking off toward the sun-filled ocean. I mean, I know dust is, but from I'm reading it's like some super expensive gem. Well, dust is an elemental crystal. It contains fire, water, earth, ice, wind, and a myriad of other things. Cloud said before reaching into his pouch, pulling out a small green crystal. Here, this is wind dust. Wind dust. Naruto breathed before taking it and his eyes widened when it glowed softly in his hands. Wow, this thing feels pretty much like chakra almost. You see, that's what bugs me a little bit. That chakra thing you keep mentioning. I'm thinking your semblance is that and you're just able to manipulate aura into the things you do. I mean, seriously, what color would you want this chakra to be if you could change it? The guard asked whilst Naruto thought about. The blonde smiles before closing his eyes. I'd want it to be an orange color, maybe yellow. Well then, we better get to heading back toward the Belladonna estate. Cloud got up and dusted his knees off. Come on kid, I'm actually way past your curfew at this point. Hey, Cloud, here. Naruto extended his hand holding the crystal. This is yours, you know. Nah, you keep it kid. He smiled before patting his head. Come on, back to the estate. Belladonna Estate 8:10 p.m. Holly watched through a window as Naruto and Cloud came up from over a hill. She smiled whilst looking toward Gira. For some reason, whatever reason, her motherly instincts had taken hold of her around the kid. Despite the fact that he wasn't normal and that his life story sounded one bad nightmare after another, this kid was just a cinnamon roll. "They're back." Kali called over to her husband, who came to stand next to her. "Look at Cloud, kid's acting like he's got a new best friend." Gira hummed softly before looking towards the boy. "He's not a bad kid, Vista called me earlier and told me that he looks almost fully healed up. Which leaves the question, what are we going to do with him?" The woman asked openly before turning to meet her husband's gaze. "No doubt in my mind the child is suffering some sort of dissociated trauma. Still, that leaves the question on who had done it to him." "I'm not so sure on that," the chief of Kuokuana replied before rubbing his beard slightly. "No, something is definitely special about him, for some reason I'm starting to believe he isn't from here." Holly frowns at that before sighing. It couldn't be helped. The boy was a special case after all. Their daughter was downstairs with Adam and some guards. The White Fang trainee had come over to see her and Gira respectfully gave them some monitored privacy. "Does she know about him?" "Blake, no, not yet. She thinks that we're taking care of a fully grown man at this point. I'm assuming that Sienna does as well, otherwise she'd marched over here a week ago." Kali pointed out before noting something as she looked toward the garden. "Hey, look, your foxtails bloomed a little early." "Huh?" Gira looked over at the foxtails, noting that it indeed bloomed a little bit earlier than normal. "That's weird, because they weren't supposed to bloom until October." "HMPH, well I guess you get an early show." She teased him before walking toward the bedroom door. "Come now, dear husband of mine, let us go welcome our charge." "Right." Both of them walked downstairs before seeing Blake and Adam drinking tea. The Bullfronis was regaling their daughter with the usual story of him taking down a different Grim. Sienna's training methods were brutal, but all in all, effective if Adam was truly taking on Grim at this age. Kali didn't call out to Blake and instead walked toward the door to welcome in the hobbling Naruto and Cloud. "Lady Kali, Chief Gira, I apologize for arriving back late. My charge was exploring the town a little bit before we headed toward Dr. Vista's." Cloud apologized before bowing his head in curtsy. "It will not happen again." "It most certainly will." Kali chided him with a small smile. "Tell me, Naruto, how was Kuokuana?" "Oh, it's beautiful." Naruto beamed with a bright smile. "That beach view is something else, I mean just wow, you know." I bet." Gira chuckled a little bit. "Say, Naruto, you do make those clothes work out, you can keep them." The blonde's eyes widened a little bit. "You mean it, really?" "Oh cool, thanks, really." Kali patted the kid's shoulder, "You always so energetic." "Oh, you've got no idea, Lady Kali." Cloud laughed before nudging Naruto inside. "So, turns out he's a ramen addict." "No, not another one." Gira breathed in frustration, pinching his nose. "I swear, Yumi needs to stop creating addicting things." "BFFT," Naruto laughs off before biting his cheek, as if. "Mom, Dad, who is that?" They all turned to see Blake, flanked by Adam. "I've never seen him before, is like a kid from one of the village's chiefs or something." "Well." Before Kali could finish, Naruto answered for them. He stood atop his good foot, dropping his crutch down and striking a pose. For some reason, he held his arms out, one above his head and another out in front of him. "Behold, I'm Naruto Uzumaki," he declared reverently in a joking manner. "Number 1 knucklehead and biter of ankles." "Wait, biter of," Blake suddenly pointed at him. "You're the frigging person that tried to kill my mother." "Wait, what? Whoa." Naruto screamed and Adam's sword was pointed at his face. "Holy crap man, you nearly got my nose." "Adam?" Kali hissed whilst Gira glared at him. "Put that down, he's not a threat, there has been a massive misunderstanding." "No, the misunderstanding is why this person isn't in questioning." Adam yelled out whilst glaring at him. "You tried to kill the chief and his wife." "I fell from the frigging sky, man, give me a break." Naruto complained whilst hopping back away from the sword. "Sheesh, put that sword down before I shove it up your." "Enough." Holly got everyone's attention with her yell. She took a deep breath to compose herself. "That's enough, Adam, please, this has been a big misunderstanding. Naruto here is actually safe to be around, he's been here for 2 weeks and hasn't done anything to harm us," she stated whilst looking at Cloud. "Well, except bite Cloud's ankle." "Hey." Cloud complained before Kali moved on. "So, as of now, he's a protected guest in this house," Kali stated before crossing her arms. "No one gets out another weapon at him, or so help me, I'm getting my oak tray from the pantry." Gira leans close to Adam, whispering to him, "That oak tray never breaks, I've seen her hit a crocodile guy in the head with it and he was out." "Honey." Kali seethed just a little bit whilst gaining a dark grin on her face, "Don't warn the boy, otherwise isn't not as fun when he runs." Adam's sheaths wilt into blush. Grunting as he glared at Naruto. This isn't over, I'll be informing Sienna of this turn of events when I leave here tonight. He warned them before turning to Blake. I'm sorry. No, don't be, besides how do we know this kid isn't just someone putting on a stupid face? Blake observed Naruto, who looked confused. Yes, what's with the fake whiskers? Well, I'm sorry, they're called birthmarks. Naruto chided her before balancing himself on his good foot to cross his arms. Another thing, I'll have you know that if your boyfriend points his sword at me again, it's going straight up his. Naruto he paused immediately and paled when the shadow of Kali loomed over him. What did I say about cursing in my house, boy? Alright, so sorry Lady Kali. Naruto said whilst fidgeting nervously and then turned to Blake whilst bowing a little bit. I'm sorry that you think I was trying to harm anyone here, they've been great me, I would never hurt them in a million years, you know. No I don't know. Blake seethed before walking away with Adam. Ira noted the look on Naruto's face, patting his back. Hey, don't worry about it, Blake's just protective of us. Oh wait Naruto remembered the photograph from the Golden Dragon. That's the girl that ate 21 bowls of fish ramen. Cloud just pinched his nose whilst getting a look from Kali, eyeing him. It's a long story. The barren wastes 4 a.m. The bullhead transport was flying over the barren wastes. They were hundreds of miles away from Kuokuana. Running a special scouting mission under orders from Sienna Khan. The lead pilot, a lizard Phronus with a long tail, was currently flying high above the sand dunes. Lady Sienna believes that an illegal SDC front was set up here. The pilot commented before turning the transport over toward another sand dune. I'm not seeing it. Of course not, these Schnee bastards are always good at hiding these little clandestine operations. Our goal remains the same, we go in and kill them. A large ox Phronus said, 2 dueling axes on his back. Fucking bastards. A moth Phronus with wings and a bow was staring out of the window on the side of the bullhead. Slowly, she saw something, it looked like a fire. Got something, to the right. She stated whilst feeling the aircraft tilt to head in the direction. The co-pilot, a lion Phronus with a mane around his neck, saw the ruins of the said illegal operation. Holy shit he says breathlessly as they come over the dune. What in the hell happened here, even for Grim? The pilot brought them into a landing position, opening the bay door. The team exited out of the back. Quickly assessing the area around them. They found a human worker whose body was black spotted and purple veins around him popping out. This place reeks. The moth Phronus stated whilst aiming with her bow. This looks like a pack of death stalkers just went wild. No kidding, bastards didn't have a chance. The co-pilot stated as he walked with his rifle pointed forward. I mean, we'd killed them, but this looks like they suffered. Good, filthy human scum. The ox Phronus took a moment to spit on one of the corpses. I hope it died screaming. Gustav. The moth Phronus chided before closing the eyes on one of the female human workers. As much as I hate humans too, this isn't something to take lightly. This place had turret towers set up. Whatever came here hit them harder than most hordes. Gustav just grunted before walking over toward a security station. He walked over toward the large cave, noting something. There wasn't equipment here for mining, this looked more and more like a military operation funded by the SDC. He growled, those filthy humans were trying to annex territory on their home. How dare they? Until he noted the cave they uncovered. But he saw 2 large glowing red orbs in the cave. Is that? He didn't get to answer as a sudden humanoid clawed hand suddenly reached out. It wrapped itself around Gustav before he could react. The moth Phronus saw this, firing into the being's arm before it let him go. Gustav jumped back as the co-pilot came running over. Gustav. Bet to the bullhead. Gustav screamed as he saw purple smoke come from the cave. Now gods damn it all, now. The moth Phronus ran with him whilst the co-pilot fell behind slightly. It was a fatal mistake as suddenly a long scorpion-like tail emerged from the cave. Its aim was true, its speed was like lightning as it drilled right into the man's back and the needle exploding out of his chest. Arg, gods, help me. The co-pilot screamed before he pulled into the cave, the fleshy sounds of ripping and tearing filled the night. The pilot got the bullhead started as the rest of the team got in. He took off just as the cave below them exploded. A massive creature, a mighty Grim, exploding through the entrance as it roared out. Its hand suddenly launched up, grabbing the aircraft before dragging it back down into the sand. No. Gustav screamed as they crashed into the sand, the moth Phronus falling out of the back from where the pilot forgot to close it. Luna. Luna screamed as she fell into the air, only for a large pincer from the lower half, a humanoid figure to suddenly reach up and snatch her. She screamed bloody murder before her visage was tracked into the sand that was picking up around the being. Suddenly, the legs emerged, the legs of a very large death stalker. It clanked against the sand, thumping and sending vibration throughout the dunes. The pilot's arm was broken and Gustav helped out of the aircraft just as the full figure emerged from the sand plume it was in. It was massive, standing 40 feet tall. Its body was wider than the Belladonna estate. It roared out with a humanoid mouth that held the remains of Luna inside of it, slurping it down as it took notice of them. The pilot was then pushed Gustav off and ran. He made it only a few feet before a bone spike suddenly launched itself from the beast's hand and skewered him to the desert ground. "I can't be." Gustav backed away slowly. The large white-fanged soldier looked at the massive beast as it casually crawled towards him. "No, there's no way, you're not real. You're not real, you're just a fairy tale." The beast grabbed him with its humanoid hands, despite the man's vain attempts to bat away with the axes. He struggled into its grip, kicking and roaring obscenities as he was slowly lifted up. The violet gas leaking from the beast's mouth slowly drifted over to him. He had filled his lungs when he breathed it. Blood veins popping out in his eyes, and the sclera turned red from the toxin as he screamed in agony. "No. No. No." Gustav begged as he began to choke. He found his hands around his own throat. "God save me, please. This creature is not real, it can't be real." "The rwby," he screamed whilst he fished his scroll out, trying to contact Sienna despite the need to choke himself. He needed to warn them all. "The rwby is real." He didn't get to say anything else as the poison took hold, making him slump down and drop his scroll into the desert sands. The massive beast brought him towards its maw, and with a few crunching chumps, Gustav was removed the world of remnant. It roared out into the shattered moon as long, thin wings formed at the back of its hardened carapace. But the red sandstorm began to slowly build up around it and smaller grim began to congregate around it. In the sand, Gustav's scroll connected before another roar filled the air and the voice of a woman could be heard. "Alpha Squad Leader, come in." "This Sienna, what did you say?" "What is that, Gustav, come in." Chapter end. What if Naruto x Blake Belladonna rwby end here, and thanks for watching my video till the end.